Hey everybody, ReefGrrl here, and welcome to ReefGrrl Live. I'm so glad you could make it. The whole idea here is to have some fun, chat, ask a few questions, maybe show us what you're doing, and get to know each other a little bit better. So sit back, relax, grab a drink. The stream is about to begin. Hey everybody, I guess I should add myself to the stream. I think I'm a little nervous. So glad everybody could make it. We got 9 people watching, a whole bunch of people in the chat. I guess I'll say hi to everybody. We do have a special guest tonight who'll be joining us well, a little later, not too late, but pretty soon. And look what I found, my glasses. So I can actually read the comments without having to lean in and squint. Okay. MB Reef was first tonight. Hey, MB, glad you could make it. And there's Filipino Reefer, second. Meldium, hi, Meldium. I hope you're okay too. So, yep, staying reefing as best I can. There's Granny's Fanny 49. Welcome. Carlos 23 is here. Hey, my favorite Carlos. There's Broke Reefman 45. We had the chance to see his tanks last week, so that was really nice. Chi-Town Reefer is here. Hello, Chi-Town. And Paul R. is here. Glad you can make it, Paul. Straight Reefer is here. K-Reef Aquarium Hobby. Gabe's Reef Tampa. Hi, guys. William Peace Jr. is here. Reefing with O is here. Hey, hey. Okay. Have a sip of the wine. Were you watching Telegram's live stream? Yeah, I dug out the Prosecco from Christmas that was pretty much flat, but it still had alcohol in it. So everything on there was a lot funnier once I got into that. Hey, Reef Keeper. Nice to see you, Phil. My awesome sump running on Instagram. Yeah, we ran into a slight problem today with a leak. So had to drain one section so it could be fixed, but it's fixable and we'll find out tomorrow once we test it. Hey, T40. T40's here. Hey, Pat. Murphy's Aquatics is here. How we doing? Marcus's Reef is here. Detroit Hammer. And who else do we have? I think that's everybody that's here right now. So that's pretty awesome. We have Alex in the waiting room. So let's bring Alex in. And I've seen on Instagram a couple things that he's been up to. Oh, he's running over to his phone. There he is.
Evening.
Oh, hey, Sharbuckles Reef. Nice to see you. Richmond Reefer is here. And OG's Fish Room. Wow, we're up to 23 already. So, Alex, you've been making astonishing progress.
I've been trying. So, am I sounding okay?
Yep.
Okay, just making sure. New phone and on headphones, which I'm usually not on. So.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I have streaming things and a little device. So I used to get a headache after about 2 hours of wearing those headphones, and they completely cover your ears. And when you take them off, it's almost like a vacuum in there. Not inside my head. Hey, Salty Reef, nice to see you. Salty Reef, were you Grizz Aquatics last week? Because if so, thanks so much for talking to FishOfHex, because he's going to be coming in shortly, I think, and we can talk to him about him, I guess. Andrew Hudson is here. Hi from the UK. It's 1 a.m. here. Oh, dedication and commitment. And there's Terran's Little Ocean. Okay. Yeah, so yes, I was. Okay, so I've said hi to everybody. So Alex, the 700, is it 700, 720?
Yes, 7. I'll just say 7.
Something.
It's a little smaller than it was before.
Yeah.
So, but no,
Cool.
it's a little more disassembled now because I need to get a couple other things done. But I guess I could sit in it for a moment.
Hey, K Reef Aquarium Hobby, thanks for coming by. 2 a.m. there. Bye-bye. Good night. Have a good night. And there's Lynn Reef Nerd. I miss shows. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Everybody misses shows. So you're seated in your 700-gallon, soon to be 700-gallon plywood box.
Yep.
What are the actual dimensions of that, Alex? Like length, depth, height?
It is 90. It is 96, but technically it's not 48 wide anymore. Hold on, I'm trying to do the math in my head here. It's more like 44 inches now, front to back. So
Right.
But yeah, it's still going to be up there on the high sixes. I'm just going to call it 700. Nice round number.
Yeah, easy to remember. Yeah, very true. Cool. Well, Fish of Hex just popped into the waiting room. Shall we have him come in and see what he's been up to lately? As if we didn't know. Okay. Relax and.
Hey, what's up, guys? Can you hear me?
Hey, how are you doing, Travis? Yeah, we can hear you.
Good, good. Yeah, I didn't put the camera on. I haven't done my hair today, so.
What hair?
Don't feel bad. I haven't either.
So I have it off. I just walked in the house, so it worked out perfectly. So
good. Well, that's good. So yeah, I think we got a lot of people here because you're here, and I think that's awesome.
that's good.
I'm kind of tongue-tied, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come and visit with us, because there was so much talk last week about your 3D printing, and people got off on the decoys, and then Grizz Aquatics, who this week is called Salty Reef, contacted you to see if you'd be interested in coming on the stream. So you said yes, and here we are. So this is great. I've been watching you since I started February of 2016. I did some looking up today, and you joined in April of 15, and to date you have over 700 videos, 6.8, almost 6.9 million views, 15 years of freshwater and saltwater experience. So that's a lot of credentials. And I have to say, I was thinking about this today. From the early days, I've really seen you evolve in what you're doing and how you're doing it. And I feel like these days you seem to be a lot more comfortable with where things are and what you're doing. And do you think that's because of the coral business, that you're finally at that point where you're doing what you love?
Well, I mean, I appreciate you looking up those stats. I didn't even know I did that. I haven't looked that stuff up. I just upload content. But yeah, so I think I created the channel in April, but I think my first video was in November of 15.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure. I'll have to double check. You're going to make me go back and look. But yeah, so I think the coral business was something that I just kind of fell into. So when I took down the 125, or I was in the process of kind of, learning through that, I just kind of fell into it, and I used the YouTube channel to kind of promote it, which just, it all snowballed from there.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, if you remember the very beginning videos, I was in that closet, right? So that tiny closet, and that's where it started. And now, we're looking to go to even a bigger place with a 1,000, and then the 300 upstairs, and
sure.
a few hundred more gallons worth of frag tanks. But
wow. And was the 125 your very first reef tank? Because you have had freshwater experience, and I know right now you have a planted freshwater.
Sorry, let me turn that down. No one's dying in the background. That's just my phone. Let me turn that down. That's a little inappropriate. My bad. Yeah. My kids love it though. They think it's funny. So, so the 125, that version that you guys saw on the channel is actually technically my third. So that 125 was a saltwater before, but it was kind of like my trial. So I've only actually been in saltwater for, I think it's probably 6 years now. I would say 6 years. And then I had a small 25 gallon before that 125. So I basically did what everybody else did. I went to the local fish store, and I was like, I want to get into saltwater. So I just bought everything the dude told me to buy, came back and made a huge mess. So through that, I, learning and kind of bringing over some of the freshwater stuff, I just did a lot of trial and error. And then I was like, something, I'm just going to make a YouTube channel, put out just the mistakes that I've made, and maybe save somebody from spending an extra $1,000. And that's really where it started.
Yeah. And I'm
So,
sure that your videos were some that I looked at before I started my YouTube channel, because I started the hobby in late 2010 and was given a really badly neglected tank and kind of went from there. But in those days, YouTube there wasn't as much help there back when I first started in 2010 through about 2015. And when I suddenly became aware of YouTube as a resource, I'm sure you're one of the first ones that I saw. And it's this whole idea of documenting what goes on and what you're doing. And every once in a while, I look back at those videos and I think, oh my God, like what I didn't know is just, it astonishes me now. It's crazy.
Yeah, I would tell you, when I first came in, Mr. Saltwater Tank, he was like my go-to guy. I still look up to him, and he's a great guy. I mean, we have the opposite personality on everything, but he was my go-to guy, and I learned a ton of stuff from him, and then I just ran with the knowledge that I've learned from other YouTube. There was another one, New York.
New York Stilo.
Stilo, yeah.
Yeah.
I followed a lot of his stuff way back. I don't really. I know somebody told me what happened to him, but I don't recall exactly what that was. I think there was like some family stuff, and he just kind of gave up on everything, from what I was told. But so those are the two big names at that time that I was following and learning. And again, it's all that trial and error and wasting money. And I just didn't want people to do the same thing, because I was on a budget. No, don't get me wrong, I'm still on a budget now. It's just a little bit bigger budget, but it's I'm still on a budget, and
well, you still don't want to waste money.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I like to nickel and dime myself. I just don't want to waste.
Yeah, or just, I mean, I'm terrible at spending stupid money, and I think I've gone through that phase, but I don't know, no guarantees. But I know exactly what you mean. Oh, hey, Johnny Martinez. Let's just see. Nobody dying at FishOfHex house, but maybe at Alex's. Just kidding. Inside joke.
What's he building back there? I must have missed it. Yeah, he's got the saw. What is he making?
This is his 700-gallon refugium. Do you remember his? If you're familiar with what he came from, he moved and took down what, 1,700 gallons, Alex?
Yeah, it was right around 1,700 at max.
Yep.
So,
you had a 720-gallon fish only.
720 fish only, a 480 reef, and then the rest of the auxiliary and the frag tank took it up to about 1,700.
Yeah, and then you had 150 refugium where you had Miss Stabby?
Yeah, that's the one back there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you're building a refugium right now. Is that what she said? I thought.
I basically got my whole fish room under construction right now. So I'm just under 3 months in my new house, and I'm hoping, maybe in a month or so I'll have some water and stuff back here, and I can move my temp tank out.
Yeah, and he's not telling us what kind of size of a display he's going to have when the time comes. He's keeping it a secret.
You put it upstairs, or are you keeping it down in the basement?
It will be in the basement.
Yeah.
So the display will be in the finished part, and then the fish room is going to be, the frag, that will be the frag tank back there, and then
that's the 480, right?
Yep. Well, 400 or so, and then there's my primary sump. So, and I got to build another one still.
These are all big boy toys, man. I haven't even gotten to that point.
Well, I build it all myself, so it saves a lot of coin that way.
Yeah. Oh,
Travis, if you ever want to build a commercial size skimmer, check out Alex's videos, because he's got it all right down to the needle wheel construction, and his was gravity fed.
I think Travis would he would be wise to do 3D printed needle wheels, because it'll be a lot easier. There you go. Trying to do what I do.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out here soon and see all that stuff, because I'm gonna definitely need a much bigger skimmer. I think I was just gonna do 2 Quantum 300s and call it a day, but hey, if I can get away maybe making one for a little bit cheaper.
Well, Pat Murphy wants to know, Travis, how many 3D printers are enough?
Well, right now I have 90 orders in queue.
Oh my!
And I'm, you know, I got 2 more printers coming tomorrow. I bought 6 last week. So unfortunately, so I buy Ender 3 Pro stock printers. So they're just basic $150 whatever, or sorry, $250 printers. And then I upgrade them to make them fully automated, all that good stuff. So I just bought stock ones, and I've been using those to kind of print easy things like Seni reef holders and handles and just pump guards, just easy things that don't require a lot of bed leveling. And I've been taking advantage of the stock stuff. But yeah, so it'll be 22 by the end of probably next week or the week after. So 22 printers down here, and I started with one in March of last year, something like that. Crazy.
Wow. Yeah, I think you were mentioning that on your rambling video, how it just kind of took off like a rocket this year.
Yeah,
and you know, I was thinking about that too. You found this niche, not only with the corals that you sell, but also with the 3D printed stuff, because the number of times that between my husband and I, we've come up with something cobbled together from bits and pieces of some other thing to accomplish a task, because there's nothing out there that would do that. And you seem to have found all those things, and you're just churning them out for people. And it, you know, you've hit that niche of what people are looking for.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, it's definitely a blessing. I'm not complaining about having 90 orders in queue, other than the fact that I feel bad for people making them wait multiple weeks to get stuff. But I think at this point, most people understand. And you know, they are pretty chill about it. But you do get the occasional guys like, yo, why is my stuff hasn't shipped? It's been 2 days.
A day.
I'm like, well, sorry, you got about another 20 to go. But sorry.
And I feel like the pandemic has made me anyway more patient, only because of the length of time it has taken sometimes to get stuff delivered. And you know, you just have to suck it up, and it's the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty chill about it. I mean, I have Andrea. She runs a lot of my customer service, because I know my flaws in life. I know my weaknesses, and customer service is definitely a weakness of mine. So I have somebody with a little bit better attitude, answering questions and taking care of stuff. I mean, I'm good to a certain point, but she likes to call it I mirror those. So if you are nice to me when you email me, you get a nice response. But if you come at me just being rude, I'm just like, well, I can't turn that off, buddy. I'm sorry. So
you know what? I know I'm probably the same kind of person in a lot of ways. I spent years in customer service dealing with people's taxes, and I don't ever want to go back there again, because it was really, really draining and difficult, and not very rewarding. So yeah. No. Hey, Reef Community Worldwide. Nice to see you, Paul. Amanda Bassel is here. Marcus is Reef. Hello.
I have no idea what my camera's doing, because it locked up on me. So I don't know if you're looking at me or...
Oh, we're looking at the 400-gallon frag tank and a tripod.
Oh, okay. So it did switch over to that.
And
I
now
might
it's
have
moving.
to leave, since I can't mute myself now, but there's my skimmer.
Way cool.
That's nice.
And Travis, that skimmer collection cup is the size of Alex's head, or bigger. It
must be massive then, huh?
I think it's a little bigger. Oh, I need a 5-gallon bucket. That's the best way to...
Yeah, 5-gallon bucket. Unreal. And that thing produced some amazing gnarly foam when it was running.
And what is it rated for?
Yep, I'm gonna
approximately.
I don't know, a few thousand gallons probably. I built it all myself, so it's gravity fed, and then it's got 2 DCP pumps with custom needle wheels on them, and then I think I'm gonna add an air injection pump to it too. So,
do you have an automatic net cleaner in there as well, or no?
No, but actually, well, this was in here as a neck pressurizer, just because I needed to limit some of because it's such a big diameter, to increase the air pressure. I took some of the volume out with a spacer. So I am thinking about making one this time, though, but I'm going to do something different. So yeah, I'm kind of thinking about doing something that's more of like a spiral auger that will not only wipe it down, but also slowly pick it up towards the cup and
Okay, yeah, and
drop it
you
off.
just put it at an angle and it slowly brings it up and then drops off. Yeah, that shouldn't be too bad. That's a pretty good idea. They should do that more often.
Yeah, I will say this, Travis. All your 3D printing stuff has definitely inspired me for some DIY projects. So
Yeah,
eventually
if you have an issue with that part, let me know. I'm pretty sure I can. If you send me the specs, it shouldn't be too difficult to come up with that. Put it at the angle, even because basically you could 3D print the blade that holds the rubber, and then just print it at a twist, so it gives you that slight angle, and then you can attach it to the rod and then have it spin around and bring that up. It shouldn't be difficult at all.
Yeah, no, that's definitely kind of what I'm looking at doing eventually, and so yeah, I'm gonna probably put a stepper motor on the top and just program it myself, and so that's the skimmer though. It's a 60-gallon inductor tank turned upside down. So
I say, yeah, that look familiar. Yeah.
I just love the scale of everything. It is so massive. It's
I got my heating coil in too finally. So
ooh,
that's
nice.
done.
Hey Alex, ours is working. It's working
good.
flawlessly. We don't have the ink word on it yet, but it's heating that final section of the sump chamber like it's like a dream. Once we set up the Inkbird, we'll hook the circulating pump up to that, and it'll go on and off as needed to maintain the temperature. So yeah, Travis, I'm doing radiant heating in my new build. And it's because I saw Alex and Blue Carbon Reefing using it, and it completely eliminates the whole worry about heaters failing and nuking your tank. So it's
I'm installing a second loop too for my water change tank when that comes in.
Yeah, I was gonna put that stuff in my kitchen.
Yeah,
I was gonna put it in my kitchen. I was like, because I've been thinking about it for a while, and I was gonna do more of a solar and thermal heating from the ground and stuff too. So I was kind of planning all that out.
Yep, same idea. You'll never regret heating your floors. We did that in the other house that we had, the previous house, and it was awesome. We just did the bathrooms though. We have Tyler Fronek. Hello, Tyler. He said, at the register or even on the phone, I believe a good mood is contagious. There you go. What else we got here? Tyler D is here. Just saying hi to a few more people. Tyler, Alex says, look into farm equipment for the auger. Could be good ideas there. Farm equipment and technology. Yeah. Hey, good night,
definitely keep my eye out. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. One of the things that my husband built for my tank is an indicator for when the ATO is filled up. I do have a short video on here I can show you guys later if you want. And he got it from a plumbing thing. And it's for a totally different purpose, but it works. And also to turn the ball valve that I'm using to divert water when I want to do a water change, I can't budge it. It's 1.5 inches. And I couldn't turn the handle. So he created a tool that he saw a plumber use to operate valves that are in really hard to reach places. And so I'll have to show you guys that at some point too. It's very cool. And I can actually operate it because I just don't have the grip strength to turn the red handle on the ball valve. So it's amazing with this hobby how all kinds of things from all different areas come into play.
Yeah. Well, it's good. Travis, don't you 3D print bulkhead wrenches too?
Yep. And they have, well, it was a little bit trial and error. I had a little issue with the infill. So I wanted them to be able to kind of release once you got a certain tension on the bulkhead, because a lot of people just crank and crank and crank until they break. And that's one of the reasons why I try to avoid it. So I was manipulating the infill to cause it to be flexible at a certain point. And then, so the way I have it now is it pretty much will start slipping as soon as you get the right pressure on the glass for the bulkhead. If that makes sense, it starts opening up a little bit, releasing the tension on it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's like a torque wrench that once you hit the proper torque, it just snaps over anyways. It won't let you turn it anymore.
Yeah, but it's just that it's plastic instead. Yeah. And then because I was doing some tests with 100% infill, and I was breaking glass. So I was like, all right, well, not doing that. So I think I'm at 25%. I want to say on I have 3 different sizes, and they're a different percentage for 2 of them. So, but yeah, it's just little stuff like that.
Yeah, don't say breaking glass. I've had too many bad experiences with that lately. So, and I'm in the middle of dealing with this piece getting it cut out.
Oh man.
Yeah, it does
So
not look
Alex, have you sourced your glass yet for that?
The displays, no. I'm waiting on my other cut sheet. I just had my local fish store get it, but
Oh yeah.
it's coming out. I was told it was coming out of Texas, and that was before all the weather hit, so it was
Ooh.
already delayed. And something tells me I ain't gonna see that for a few weeks. So
And it's an inch thick, right?
no, it's only just 3/4.
3/4.
So yeah, it's almost impossible to get 1-inch glass. There's very few manufacturers, and the price is ridiculous. So.
So Travis, when you come up with a new 3D printing idea, I mean, everyone was talking last week about the decoys, and what made you think of that?
That there's actually somebody. The person who originally came up with the idea emailed me after the fact, but there was a video that was going around on Instagram that it seems like everybody and their mother was sending me about the decoy, and it was the model was okay. I guess I didn't really pay too much attention to the actual detail of the model, and then I started thinking, well, I could probably come up with something like that. We'll see. So I started just fiddling around with 3D models, and then kind of it's hard to print something like that. So I decided to kind of cut one in half, and then make a couple different versions with suction cups for bare bottom tanks, sides of glass, and then also one for the sand bed. And then I just recently made a blue hippo tank because somebody was asking about that. And I mean, it's definitely not my original idea. I'm just the first person to bring it to the actual market. And I gave props to the person. And
Yeah.
we're going to go back and forth. He wants to do a few more things together in the future. I told him we just got to wait until probably a little bit later in the year when things calm down.
Yeah.
But he has some other ideas that he wants to kind of throw out there. So,
Oh, cool. So this is to deflect aggression when you add new fish to a tank, and then when would you remove it? How would you decide when to take it out?
I would remove it when they stop beating it up, because I think at that point they've accepted it as one of their own. I would say, because when I did the trial in my frag tank, I put one in there with a new yellow tang, and the two Scopus tangs were beating the heck out of this decoy and leaving that yellow tang alone, which was good. So once they stopped beating up the decoy, I removed the decoy, and there hasn't been any problems. So
okay. Yeah, I kind of wondered about that. At what point you could decide to remove it, or if it was going to be in there forever and start growing algae and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, you can. I mean, right now, the way yellow tangs are, I'm sure people are just plopping them in their tanks just for the sake of having a yellow tang.
Yeah.
And I want to see what happens in another year or two. How many more yellow tang breeders pop up?
Oh, I'm sure they're already working on it.
Well, my fish store guy said that he's getting close to making a deal to get some captive bred yellows. So I don't know where from or what the stage of. I have no idea. I haven't really looked into it, but
Biota's the big name for that right now. I don't know if anyone else has come out commercially with them yet.
Well, I can guarantee that way before we knew, months and months, if not a year before this stuff was even a possibility, I'm sure that there was rumors going around and people were already prepping. I'm more than positive that was something.
Yeah. Somebody's asking. Salty Reef One is wondering, Travis, when the 8-foot tub is coming.
It's going to be here on Wednesday, well, per the tracking, but we'll see. So that's going to come in, and then I have to build the stand, and I'm actually building my own version of the H2 overflow 3D printed. So there's different versions of it. So a lot of people, or at least back in the day when I was making overflows or drilling tanks, I wouldn't use boxes. I would just put a bulkhead in and then put a 90 in there, like of a PVC. Now I'm actually creating my own version of the overflow of that, different shapes and sizes and stuff. And to fit, a 1-inch bulkhead or a 1.5 or a 2-inch bulkhead. So I got to finish up that project. And then once that's done, I can drill the tank and then use that bulkhead system. So the
Mhm.
overflow. But yeah, it's going to be pretty good. It's going to be loaded with Kessels, and it's just going to be, it's 8 foot by 3 foot by 1 foot, or technically 13 inches. And it's just going to be grow out plates. That's it, the whole thing.
Wow. And you have room for it now where you are? Do you have to relocate anything to
No,
fit it in?
I'm going to be removing the one low boy to the left of the tank, the single one there, and then cutting my workbench in half that's next to that, and still keep my saw and, you know, my fragging station there. It'd just be, you know, literally half the size of what it is. And
Right.
then it'll fit in there. Should fit in there. No
Cool.
issue. The only thing I'm worried about is that it's 3 foot, but I'll try to get it as close to the wall as I can so it doesn't stick out too much over the 300, but you know, it's temporary. So
Hey, Alfie's Reef is here. Good evening. I know you're in the UK, Alfie, so welcome. Acro Breeder, hey there. Yeah, Murphy has a comment. I know a few people those decoys would turn into hairy tangs. Yeah. Kind of like
funny.
people who have dragons in their sump, right, Travis?
Oh god, you guys are gonna get me started. You guys trying to bait me into this?
No.
Did you see the new one I put up last night? Oh yeah, you did. You commented on it. I think you did.
I did. Yeah, I did see that, and I was the one that said we're going to watch Travis have a stroke on the video. Oh my God, that cable in the water! Did he also have the power brick?
So the power brick was in the back. I didn't see that in the water, but where you actually connect the J-bow to the power brick, that was submerged. I was like, whoa. I mean, I talked to him on Instagram today. I was like, buddy, you better fix that. He's like, I definitely did, man. I definitely did.
Oh boy.
I was like, cool.
Well, I mean, I guess on the other hand, it must be a testament to how tight those seals are that join those two pieces together. But it's not that it's a good thing to do.
Well, he says that his system is grounded out, so if he is getting a leak, it's going to go through the ground. But unfortunately, that could be really bad. Not only for us, but for the livestock and everything that's just you know living in that water column is going to not do very well. Probably hence the reason why, you know, don't get me started. I was gonna go. It's gonna keep going. Oh no! But no, and the thing is about those videos is somebody was saying that there's other people on YouTube doing, like, I don't know, I wouldn't say positive, but just a lot of cushy, kissy type of videos. And I'm like, I want to do this, but I don't want to be like that. So what's the opposite of that?
It's a roast. And my husband and I were talking about this tonight, and people don't quite understand what a roast actually is. It is really cutting the shit out of everything that you see. And I actually won a roast in a saltwater group on Facebook once. I was tied for first. And I believe the winning comment was, "Your wife has crabs?" And oh man, that was fun. It went on for about 2 weeks and it was just a riot. I loved it. So
it's all in fun though.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's what makes it great. But you know, even in fun, sometimes you can learn from it, right? Yeah. So I'm gonna be doing some video of my jankety temporary tank and sending it to you if you can ever fit it in.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I'll definitely show you. I try not to do it to people that I like, but I did like Caleb. But he asked for it though, so I was like, "All right, man, I'm ready."
Yeah,
but he is married, by the way, and his wife is, you know, she's good looking. So but I had to throw it in there. If you didn't remember, like right before, I was like, I'm sorry,
I remember the poll on Caleb. Yeah, I remember that. It was a riot. It was a riot.
I just wanted to do something different and see how it goes. That was really the only point behind it. I know that people are going to get offended, and that's kind of the story of my channel, anyways. Is I'm so different than everybody else, and that's kind of that's the point.
Yeah, you know? And you know what? I get it, and I'm different in public probably than I am in person, and I have to really tone it down. I can have quite a potty mouth, which is not all that great from women, especially grandmother type women. Man, I don't want my grandson's first real word to be starting with F and ending in uck. So, you know, I got to be pretty careful.
Yeah, I mean, I almost don't want to say this because I know that people might get upset, but it's almost a persona that I have to keep up. I don't act like that in real life. I mean, that's not who I am. I'm actually I'm quite, you know, respectful and courteous to people, and I'm very, you know, nice. But you know, there's a certain, like I said, persona you got to keep up. I have a certain way of doing things, and I enjoy it. It's kind of, I would say, it is who I am to a certain extent. It's kind of like if I had no worries about anything, it's just the internet. I'm just going to do it because, well, I can. So that's kind of where I've just gone with it. And of course, there's always going to be people that you know, and you know this being on YouTube, there's always going
Oh
to be
yeah.
people that don't like you,
Mhm.
regardless of who you are, what you say, or what you do. I
Yeah.
could literally kiss everyone's butt the whole time during that video, and somebody would still complain.
Mhm, mhm.
It's just
Yeah.
the way it is.
Yeah,
No, it's true.
yeah. It doesn't matter who you are. There's always somebody out there looking to get a rise or try to get something out of somebody.
Here's Pappy Reefer. This must be a Travis imitator. I haven't heard a curse word yet.
Yeah, well, he's here.
Yep, he is here. Oh, Travis has to be twitching by now, being on his best behavior. LOL.
Yeah, I'm
No,
all right.
no. Honestly, I could see that side of you because I've watched enough of your videos, and I think if nothing else, you're just so honest with yourself. Like, and that's what comes across. It's the truth, and that's what we need more of.
Mhm.
And I don't hide anything. I was watching a video today because somebody made a comment. It was one of those comments where they're just trying to show how smart they are. And I usually
Yep,
just give
know
those a
those.
heart and move on because I don't even want to get into
Better than
this
me.
this. Yeah, yeah. And so I was watching the video and I thought, oh my God, it was like from 2016 when I was really not very experienced. And man, oh man, I don't know how people put up with it at the time, but I'm I think I'm better now at the editing part, and because that's the whole other thing, right? Like you've also made a lot of progress with your editing, and you have a certain style, and it really matches your personality in the sense that it's straightforward, and you say what you need to say, and you get the job done. And I think you work your ass off at this, and so that must be a little bit of what's feeding into your carefulness because you don't want to not be able to do it anymore. I would guess. And that's part of my reasoning too. I want to keep doing this because I really like it.
And that's the thing is that's the whole thing behind it is that I really like what I do.
Yeah.
I mean, my whole life up to this point, I mean, I started off, you know, I grew up in a trailer park in Vermont. I mean, I was poor my whole life. I didn't have anything. And, you know, I just worked and worked and worked and worked. And the last 5 years have been a blessing. I mean, YouTube, even though it has its stressors and it has all the things that are, you know, you're like, man, do I really want to make a video today? Well, I got to do it. You know, I got to do it. So
Yeah.
sometimes you got to put on a happy face. It's like going to the gym. Sometimes you don't feel like going, but you just got to go
Oh, yeah.
because
Yeah.
the benefits are going to reap, you know, it's going to be there. But
Mhm.
yeah, I really enjoy what I do, and I don't want to lose it, but I also want there to be a mutual respect. Now, of course, there's a lot of personalities on YouTube. Everybody wants to be famous. I've never did this to be famous, and I probably will never be famous, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I do this because I have 4 mouths to feed, right? I have 4 boys that eat a lot of food. So, you know, my goal at the end of the day is to enjoy what I do, stay as positive as I possibly can, take care of myself, take care of my children. And if I happen to be quote unquote YouTube famous in our community, then I'll take it. But that has never been the goal. And, you know, I'm happy. So we got to keep it, right?
Yeah. Well, this is it. It's sometimes it's a compromise, and you can live with it because it has benefits. So
It does.
yeah. Hey, Will's Aquarium.
And I give you a lot of props too that, you know, I taken, you know, from a hobby and turn it into a pretty nice and thriving business there with the coral and the 3D printing. It's a lot of hard work to do that. And I know that's something I tried many times when I was younger to mix hobbies and business. I can't do it. It ruins it for me. But there's some people that I get a lot of props for that because I can't do it.
Yeah, I turned a hobby into a business in the 90s, and then I started keeping a reef tank, and that hobby went bye-bye because, of course, keeping a reef tank is so all-consuming. And I still do the other hobby. It's knitting. I design knitwear and publish patterns and all that kind of thing. You might, if you see some of my basement videos, you might see my yarn collection that I have down there stashed away in cupboards. But just keeping a reef, there's never enough time in the day, even just to read all you want to read and watch the videos you want to watch. And It's just crazy.
I'll tell you what, though, kicking videos on while you're working on your fish tank, it's pretty relaxing.
Yep. And I was going to say, Travis, also, I do enjoy, I've listened to almost all of your live streams and Q&As and everything. They're the perfect length to do some tank work. And I really like it when you read what the chat is saying. Like some live streams will react to it, but not necessarily read it. And when you're listening, it's like with yours, I found it's really fun to watch the chat. So
Oh yeah, I
so
mean,
I
it
appreciate
goes
it.
off the rails real quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And
I think too. I don't know. I think that type of environment really allows people just to I guess escape. I mean, if that's kind of what I'm looking for, because a lot of people come in and they know it's a chill spot. You can say what you want to say. I mean, of course, we do have limits on certain things, but yeah, the chat has always been it's my favorite, and I don't know. I feel, I know this sounds weird, but I feel like if somebody's willing to trust me with a question that could impact thousands and thousands of dollars and decisions that they're going to make for the next year or two, I mean, that's a heck of an honor, man. And I really, I appreciate that stuff. And I try to give the best answers I can. And one thing that I have no problem admitting is if I don't know something, like I don't know, you're going to have to Google. I might say it a little bit differently by being, but
I have a really good friend. His name is Dr. Google.
Yeah, go check him out. He knows everything. He knows everything. Yeah,
that's right.
And that's one thing that I think a lot of people in this community see. Okay, so YouTube, there's been a lot of people that have come and gone over the last 5 years, and that. I mean, there's always people coming and going. And one thing that's really common with the people that are always going is that they pretend to be something they're not. And the one thing about YouTube is if you don't be yourself, you will fail. Yep. Period. No matter what.
And yet all the advice they give you in these stupid creator things, I don't even read those things anymore. What a waste of time. Is, poll your audience, see what they want you to do, see who they want you to be. Oh, you're supposed to be yourself, but at the same time, you're supposed to ask everybody else who you should be. And people don't
see through it. That's the thing is people can see through you. Especially if you're bouncing around from one personality to the next, people see that stuff. And one thing about our community, it is really important, is being able to provide proof of what you say. That's a huge deal. That's a huge deal. And I mean, I'm willing to listen to anybody if you can prove it. I'm not going to do anything unless you're able to show that process works.
Yeah. It's true. And a lot of times I feel like there are videos I want to make and stuff I want to get out there, but it can take 3 or 4 months to go through a process to actually gather the information, watch what happens, document it, and then ultimately in the end decide whether it was successful or not. Because a lot of times, well, you know this, you don't know what might have made that change. Was it the one thing you did that you're trying to document? Or was it something else that happened 2 weeks ago and now all of a sudden you're, it is not easy. There's a lot of work that goes into behind the scenes to reach a point where you can put something out that you can stand behind, right?
Yeah. Oh, of course, definitely.
Yeah.
I try to. That's why a lot of people, ask me why I'm not on the camera, because me being in front of the camera doesn't show you what I'm saying works. It never has, right? So, why not just show you the tank? Even in its bad times. Like when I do updates, a lot of people notice that my live stream video is a lot better than my my current update, tank wise, because back then is before I removed all those colonies, and the tank is basically Bertha's bashing house at this point. She just destroys everything, unfortunately. So that's just the way it is. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to figure out where I was going to go with that. I had a point, but I lost it. I got distracted because I just remembered when I said Bertha, I was like, oh man, I forgot to take that colony out that she knocked down this morning. I'm like, crap, I probably should get that. So I lost train of thought.
You were talking about being on camera.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I appreciate you keeping me in check here. So yeah, I just never was a big fan of being in front of the camera. Not only because of the fact that the tank is pretty much the ideal thing, but also my previous job wasn't really a good situation for me to be in front of the camera. And then another thing too, self-esteem issues, stuff like that. I don't feel comfortable being in front of the camera because, people already judge me just by my voice and the things that I do. Can you imagine adding a shiny bald head on top of it and a big old nose?
Honestly, Travis, I remember when you said, "Hey, if you're ever in Lancaster and you see a fat bald guy with a beard walking a lizard on a leash, that'll be me." Shit.
Sums it up. It's not,
I must
not
have
bearded,
laughed.
not fat anymore, but yeah. But
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I don't. I have a really weird wobble to my head when I talk. I have tried to be on camera on my videos. Can't do it. Can't do it for all of the reasons that you said. And this live stream is a real extension for me, a push of the envelope, because
mhm,
I just don't. I've never been photogenic. I've always been self-conscious,
mhm.
and you know
To my
it's
core, to my core,
yeah,
self-conscious. I'm telling you,
exactly.
because when you're trying to record a video, at least for me, if I'm trying to do, and I've done this, I don't know, maybe 100 times, I go to talk to the camera. I can't look at the right spot because my eyes move around. Like I get, because I'm
Yep.
trying not to focus, and then I feel like,
Yep.
is my mouth moving right? Am I
Mhm.
saying things right? Are people judging me? I mean, and then you try to get content out while all that's running through the back of your mind, and you're just like, yep, I'm just gonna do a voiceover.
Yep.
I'm just
Yep.
gonna do a voiceover today. So.
Well, because the voiceover you can do over and over and over,
Mhm.
and it's much less work than trying to be on camera. And the lighting, and I don't know, it's I guess keep it to a minimum and let people focus on what you're saying, right? That
And
because
the
really
proof,
that's
and
what
the
matters.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
showing, yeah. And
Yeah.
that, I guess it kinda worked out, the fact that I don't like being on camera, but I can at least prove what I'm saying to a certain
Mhm.
extent.
Yeah.
And then, it just worked out. No, I am gonna be in front of the live stream. I'm gonna do what you're doing. I'm going to work my way up, be on the live stream, and, eventually move my way out, because I can't hide forever. I mean, the business got so much potential and so many
Mhm.
things, and if you can add a face
Yeah.
to a voice,
Mhm.
that potential could grow, you know, I mean, who
Immensely.
knows? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it could go anywhere. And like I
Yeah.
said, at this point in my life, I'm comfortable, right? But
Mhm.
but I want my business to grow, because I want my boys to enjoy it, back,
Yeah.
later on in life. And I mean, by all means, I don't need to be a millionaire, but as long as I have, food, a house,
Mhm.
right,
Yeah.
safe, that's all that matters. But I still
Yeah.
want my business to be very successful, because, I mean, what's the point, right? If I'm gonna, I mean, I'm working 16 hours a day anyways, so I might as well be successful, right? So.
Yeah. Make it count. How
Yep.
old are your boys?
Well, we got 2, 3, 4, and 11.
Oh,
So,
cool. That's
so
cool.
yeah.
Hey, B Speed, welcome. Bunch of people popped in. Bongos Reef, hello from the UK. I've not been on for a while. Thought I'd pop in to say hi. Hi, Bongos Reef. Nice to see you. And Salty Reef has making your. I think you've answered this on a live stream. Has making your hobby into a business affected your love for the hobby?
Yes, it definitely has. If you guys, a lot of people say, "Man, you should clean your glass." Well, I don't. I don't look at the tank the same way I used to, and that's okay. Maybe when I rebuild and we have the 1,000 downstairs, and we have the 300 upstairs, maybe I will enjoy the 300 more. That it won't be
Yeah.
such a work tank, and it'll be in a calming living area, not in a work area. So I'm hoping that it will somewhat change when I rebuild. But yeah, it definitely puts a toll on just kind of, the hobby in general. I want to love it, and I want to, really be into it. I want that new feeling that when you remember your first time when you went to the store, and like I remember when I was buying that 25-gallon, all that stuff, and the guy, I was just listening
Mhm,
to everything he
mhm,
said, and I had that feeling like, oh, I can't wait to get
mhm.
home, and that feeling that everybody gets when they're really ready to build a new tank. I want that
Yep.
feeling again. I haven't
Yep.
had it in years. And I'm
Yeah.
hoping that I can get it on the next build. I'm like,
Yep.
it's like a fix. I'm like, I'm ready to get it. I'm ready to get this feeling back.
Now, I'm going through that right now. I'm starting to actually get excited about getting the tank here. I'm sitting in the room. In fact, where I'm sitting, I would be right in the tank. And it's 60 by 66 by 21 and kind of a peninsula, but just barely.
Hmm.
Open stand. Pipes are all going downstairs to the basement. System volume around 650 gallons total
Whew.
system volume, but just over 300 in the
And
display.
the display.
And
Wow.
I'm just so looking forward. I've been working on the rocks, and I'm really starting to get excited about it because I'm starting to see the potential. And I'm using the patented Travis recipe for cooking rocks right now.
Oh, you
I
are? You're
have
doing it?
I am. I
That's
have
awesome.
had a tote
It
for
works.
probably it does. I'm sure it does. There's a tote that's at my daughter's place, which is where my temporary reef is right now, that has a whole bunch of old coral skeletons that are massive. And they're plating corals that are out on branches. It's hard to describe, but those things are in there curing. And they've been in there since probably, I want to say August.
Oh yeah, you're good. Oh, you're real good.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
they're light gray now.
mm-hmm.
And so I think they're good to go.
What's
And
your water changes on it? Are you doing like 50% or 100% on it? Water change
about 50%.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not often enough, maybe every 3 weeks. The hardest thing to do is maintain the correct salinity in there.
Okay. You maybe consider putting some plastic over it, and then having a weight in the middle so it drips back down.
That's a good idea. Right now there's a lid on the tank, but of course it's in a tote and it's deflected, so the lid doesn't completely cover the entire water surface, but the cords come out through the gap.
Yeah, go ahead and put a piece of plastic and then run some rope around it, and then just put a rock in the middle so it just where the water can drip back down. You'll be fine.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I might do that.
Well, and then go ahead.
The rocks are coming home here probably in the next week or so, because we're doing a fill of the 300 gallons downstairs, and we had to stop to deal with a leak in the water change section. One of the bulkheads was leaking. So once that gets fixed, I've got the water heating up so I can make salt water. And once that gets pumped over, we can start the thing running, the sump, as a separate system, closed system, because the tank, it won't be here probably till early April, I want to say, end of March, early April. Okay. So at least another month, if not longer. So in the meantime, this is probably a good opportunity for you to ask what you think about this idea. Even the chat, if anybody has any suggestions. Oh, hey, Johnny Martinez. I don't think I said hi. I'm going to run the sump as a closed system. I'm going to move the contents of my temporary tank here into the 150-gallon section, into that stock tank. And once it's cycled, I know I'm going to have to cycle it for several weeks to make sure that all the parameters are correct and everything before moving all my stuff over. But that's how I did it in reverse to where it is now. From my Red Sea tank over there, it took about 2 months to move everything. I'm hoping it won't take that long this time, but who knows, right? So once I have that thing running and it's cycled and everything is moved in, and I get the tank and I put the water in and the rocks in because they're curing, and then the sand in because I have to put the rocks in first and keep them wet, right? So the water has to go in, then the rocks go in.
Well, you can keep them out. I kept mine out for 12 hours or so. So if you want it to be empty, you could aquascape dry if you really wanted to.
Yeah, I don't know.
The surface area bacteria will die off, but all the beneficial bacteria on the inside of the rock won't die off. It's still going to be wet. So just for the sake, if you feel like aquascaping dry for the ease of it, if you want to super glue anything, then that'd probably be
some of it's going to have to be put together. I'm making it modular because I have no hope of lifting some of the structures I'm building unless they're in pieces. But that was the question. If I fill the tank itself with water, make sure it's heated and the water's circulating, put the rocks in, put the sand in, and get it ready, how do I know whether I can just turn on the pump that's going to be plumbed into it, right? Turn it on and get it going. How do I know when the water's right for that? Am I going to risk putting the whole system into a cycle?
Well, because the rock is already cured, so you already have the beneficial bacteria, so that is the cycle. The only thing that you're going to have to worry about is when you finally turn on the system would be your lighting over the tank. You're going to want to still go a little bit without lighting, just because there will be some die off on the rock when you're aquascaping. It's just natural. So I would say for me, what I did is when I aquascaped and I set up the new tank, I still didn't put any coral or anything in the main display or anything crazy for at least a month, regardless of having it cure for 3 or 4 months. But so when it comes to turning that valve on and you're ready to start, you're really going to want to just match temperature to the best of your ability. That's going to be the thing. Your alkalinity, again, you're going to want to try to keep that as similar. And you're using the same salt. I don't know what your dosing is going to be like, but I would say, because you're going to be putting freshly mixed salt water in that tank, right? So you're going to want to, if you're, how do I phrase this? So if I would say, you're going to want to get your alkalinity as close as you can to that tank, as well as the temperature, and then go ahead and, turn it over.
Turn
I
it
mean,
on.
those are going to be the two biggest things you're going to need to worry about. The cycling, I wouldn't worry about it because you have so much more water.
Yeah.
But if you're still going to, run a couple weeks without lighting, just to let that beneficial bacteria that did die off on the surface kind of repopulate. That way you don't get a big diatime bloom or any kind of,
Yeah.
issues with that.
Yeah.
I think you'll be fine. I don't think it's going to be that risky. I mean, you got a ton of water, so.
Yeah, this is it. And I know that with the pumps and everything that I'm getting, all of the water is going to be mixed together in under probably 2 or 3 hours. It's all going to be one system pretty darn quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So I just didn't know whether, like, what I would need to watch for. But that's a good point about the lighting, because all of the lights will be hung before the tank actually gets here. Of course, we have to. We've come up with a plan on how we're going to mount them and everything else. But it's like a chicken and egg thing,
Yeah, I mean, the rocket's already cured. You already did more than what most people are doing. It's just going to be that temporary die off. I mean, a little bit of diatom bloom if you wanted to turn the lights on. It's really not a big deal.
No.
Just keep an eye on your feeding. You might want to go, a day or so without feeding. Just again to let the bacteria and the waste from the sump get into that main tank and just start processing and building up that beneficial bacteria. But again, with that much water, I mean, your room for error is very big. So
yeah, exactly. Well, and I thought too, I would put fish in like almost right away. Once things are mixing, I can start adding fish. Not all of them, but a few, and that's going to help as well.
Yep.
All
You're
right.
going to have that source. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for that. That's good input, because it's nerve-wracking. I'm very scared. I don't want it to be a big, huge disaster, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Well,
Just
Cindy,
imagine jumping out and you'd be good. Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, I'll be doing something similar with my build, because once I have the fish room rolling, I'm going to tear the temporary tank down and move it into the 400, and then have everything come online in here. Probably my secondary sump will be the last thing. But once I make the displays, I've got a significant amount of testing to get through, and then adding salt and all that. But eventually, that's just gonna give it a couple of weeks, and maybe toss like a couple little pieces of live rock or something in there to seed some pods and let them start flourishing.
Yeah.
And then one day it's just gonna be turn the valve as long as everything's good, like Travis was saying, temperature and
that's the biggest thing.
I
think alkalinity would be my biggest concern. So
Yeah.
say your newly mixed salt water is at, I don't know, let's just say 8, but you like keeping your alkalinity at 10 in that little section. That's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I like my alk anywhere between 8 and 9. 8.5 is what I've always felt comfortable with. And I've been having problems with really high alk, and I think it's because a little child has been playing with the dosing hoses, and then I've been overcompensating. And I gotta say hi to a few more people here. We've got a lot of people dropping in. Hey, Davis Jew, how's it going, Don? Chimp the Reefer's here. Pappy Reefer. I think I said hi to Johnny Martinez. Gabe's Reef Tampa's here. Travis, your favorite guy.
Oh, Gabe. Yeah, he's my boy. Made me a lot of money, by the way. Shout out to Gabe.
Yeah,
SNI Reef holder was insane. That
So there you go.
He bugged me forever to make that. Oof.
I remember it was almost a joke. You were going to write it on your list and you would write it down again.
I got to send him a check or something.
Yeah.
But thanks for the idea, bro.
I'm sure he'd take some corals.
Oh yeah, he would.
Hey, Cue Balls Reef. Nice to see you. Camaro Kid is here. Cool. Death Angels. It's like a 50% water change water-wise. Cool. People are talking about moonshine these days, Travis. I guess it's a new dosing system. And I've
never heard of it.
I just started hearing about it a few weeks ago, and I kind of went to the website and looked at it. And I use something called Coral Essentials that's from Australia. And it has 3 basic elements, trace ABC, and then there's a power amino and a power grow. And you put this stuff in at the rate of drops per 50 gallons sort of thing.
Okay, it's not based off the calcium consumption like the
No.
Red Sea. No, okay.
No. And at least not that I know of, not that I remember. And then there's this other stuff that's part of the same line called the juice. And the stuff's not cheap, but I will say it lasts a long time. A $200 worth has lasted me well over a year. So that's not too bad in the long term. But
I'd be
anyway,
interested if you get a chance, email me the links to that stuff. I'd be interested in checking
Coral
that out.
Essentials.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get it from Blue Life, I think, in California. I'll send you the stuff. I tried to buy it from them, but I just couldn't make it work to get it to Canada.
Story of my life.
Yeah, I know, right? And
There's
so I ended up,
ton of support in Canada. Go ahead.
I ended up importing it from Australia, and the Australian dollar is actually more advantageous to the Canadian dollar, so it ended up being a lot cheaper than it would have been.
That works
So
out.
that it all worked out. Yeah.
Even with shipping?
Yeah, hey, get this. Shipping was 18 Australian dollars, and they thought that was a lot. Whereas I put a small order in of some type to somewhere like Premium Aquatics or whatever, or BRS. I shouldn't pick on any of them because they're all the same. And it's like $35 US for shipping to Canada. I don't know why, but I mean, I'm not questioning them. I'm sure it does cost them that much when they go to the post office, but yeah, it's crazy, man. But Australia, I guess they're so used to it. They've developed an efficient system. Whatever goes on a plane, and it was here a week later. It was awesome. I ordered it through Gallery Aquatica. So Gallery Aquatica, everybody, if you're interested in checking them out, they operate via Facebook Messenger when you want to order internationally. So really great people, by the way. All right, who else? I don't think I even said hi to Andrea Christine. Welcome, Andrea. I know you. I've seen you on a few live streams here and there as moderators on Melev's Reef, and yeah. So yeah. Oh, here we go. Yeah, Gabe. I use Black Label. It's too expensive. Yeah, that's what they call the juice, right, Gabe? So I started looking at this moonshine stuff, and honestly, like there's like 461 different little weensy bottles. Well, there probably isn't 461. There's maybe like 100. And apparently it doesn't take long to dose them, but it's every single element. And you base it on the results of ICP tests. So you know what?
That sounds like a lot of work.
I don't have enough.
I have a hard time cleaning my glass, so I don't know. It seems like a lot of work.
Murphy says, I think some people need to focus on actually growing corals before they get buck wild dosing other things. Yeah.
I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. Oh yeah.
Exactly.
I think that's the problem is there was this whole craze a little while back about having reefroids. Like it was a huge thing. I'm sure it's still big now.
Yeah.
But people didn't realize that you don't need to feed your corals every day. I haven't fed corals in at least a couple of years. I mean, I just don't. Okay. I mean, you can, right? But I just don't. And the thing is, people were getting so obsessed with, I got to make sure every frag has a paste on it or something, and then they don't realize that stuff turns into nutrients, and then you have green hair algae and cyano, which then sucks up all the available nutrients, which then starves the coral, which won't even grow and use up the, so it's just okay.
Shoots the phosphates through the roof.
Oh yeah, it's just no. I mean, it's a good product. I just don't personally use it because this time I could do something else.
Yeah, well, and I think it also depends on the type of coral you have. I really like the large solitary polyps, the cinerinas, scholemias, lobos, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And those things, especially, acanthophilia, the giant donut corals, you do have to feed those with mysis and other things, if possible, periodically. They just can't get enough through photosynthesis or through the type of food that's in the water that's left over from the fish. So those big polyps do need some kind of feeding, but usually it's actually meaty seafood that they need and not powder food. So,
well, that's why I make my own fish food. So when I run all that stuff through the grinder or the meat grinder, it comes out as a kind of like a paste. But when it gets in the water column and the power heads are off and the fish are eating and breaking it up, as soon as the power heads get on, the lobo that I have down there just whips up his tentacles and
Yep.
goes to town. So I find that, you know, if you have a higher quality food or something that you make, which, you know, I consider it to be higher quality, you know what's in it, right?
Yep.
And you manipulate your flow correctly, you could really feed a whole tank without ever having to even stick a hand in there.
Yeah. Yeah,
Just
I'm
my
sure
thought.
you're right. Well, think about the ocean. I mean, God doesn't take a giant baster and stick it down and put food in the mouth of the coral, right? Like,
Nope. Yeah.
It,
you know,
it,
they
The
it,
feed
current
on
brings it. The
plankton.
current brings the pieces. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it's
and
plankton.
there's no feed mode in the ocean,
nope.
No.
Well,
so I don't shut my pumps off.
Well, I do it just for the sake of saving filter socks a little bit. That's
Yeah.
really the only reason. And then what it does is just, you know, it turns off the skimmer, it turns off the flow, it gets it below the H2s. If the power heads go off, the fish feed for about 5 minutes, and the power heads kick on for 10 minutes just to mix all that up, and then the return kicks on, and then it's just takes care of all the extra stuff.
Yeah.
And I just find that my filter socks got an extra couple days just by doing that. So
Well, and
See?
it's where you want it, right? It's in your tank feeding your livestock instead of exploding your nutrients.
yeah,
That's why I don't run filter socks.
Yeah.
I have to, man. If I don't, I get like these small particles, and whew, the OCD kicks in. I'm like, I'm done.
Every now and then for polishing, I'll toss one in. Or my favorite is on like Reef to Reef. I had a couple in my old system when it was running for like 9 or 10 months, and there was like giant sponges growing in it. And every now and then, so I'd be like, "Show me," you know. I'd be like, "Do anyone think I should change these? They look bad."
Sponges in your filter socks. The Herm 14. Great live stream doing my tank maintenance on all 4 of my reef tanks. Why is it that us as reef hobbyists can never just have one tank? Such a beautiful hobby. I love my dogs too.
You can have multiple tanks. You just tie them all into one giant filtration system.
Yep.
There you go.
Saves the maintenance.
Yeah, I mean, I can have a planted tank, but I can only do one saltwater tank. I tried multiple times so far to have multiple saltwater tanks. I just don't have the time. I mean, I'm not trying to chop it up in any other reason than I just can't do it. So having everything tied in is easy.
Yeah, it's hard to do, mate. You know, I'm gonna kind of have that because I'm gonna have my arrival center tank that I put new fish in. But yeah, if I had to have a skimmer and a calcium reactor and a UV and everything else on each one, it'd be a nightmare to do maintenance every week.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, I had several when I was breeding mollies because I would have the main tank that had the mollies in, then the grow out for the fry. And at that time, I had a hard coral tank with a sump, a small one, 20-gallon with a 15-gallon sump, and a 29-gallon soft coral cube. So I had 4 going at the same time, and each was independent. But the molly tanks were easy because there were no corals in them, just some macroalgae and stuff like that. It was just a matter of keeping the water clean. And then I had the Red Sea and the Innovative Marine 40-gallon, and those 2 tanks were a real hassle for a while until I got the water changes set up so that I could pump water up from the basement for Mollywood, I call it, as well as the Red Sea tank. And I don't want multiple tanks anymore. Once the system is set up, I'm going to have the Innovative Marine 40. I'm going to use that for a quarantine observation tank. I will keep it set up and running. And when I get a fish, the fish goes in there. When I get inverts, the inverts go in there. And I'll just observe them. If I need to treat them, I'll temporarily set up a specific QT tank just for treating the fish. And that's as much as I want to do because it's so easy to go down that rabbit hole. It's like, well, geez, I got this tank. It's just for fish, but you know, I could put some frags in there.
Yep.
And that's how
that's exactly where it
starts.
goes. Yeah, that is exactly what happens. And I think it's smart to keep a tank, observation tank up at all times. I think, I mean, you never know because sometimes if you are going out to like an event or a fish store and you're like, wow, I really want that fish, but oh crap, I don't have a quarantine tank. And then you sit there and you try to talk yourself into, well, I guess I don't need a quarantine this time. I don't need to do this. And then you bring it home and bam, you got velvet and you're done. Yep.
No, it's one of those things that does take a long time to get over. And I was bad for impulse purchases. I almost bought a pink tail trigger the first time I ever saw one. And at the time I had a 29-gallon cube.
Ooh.
So that I know.
That did not work out. No.
Well, I did not do it because the fish store guy said, well, you can have these with a reef, but you probably need more like at least a 180. And so I went, okay, I get it. Because I mean, I do understand that whole thing. And I don't judge other people for what they keep in their tanks because they have their own thought process, and it'll either come back to bite them or they will upgrade and eventually give what their livestock needs the proper habitat, right?
Well, I think for me, I don't necessarily judge people. I just ask that they are not selfish with the decisions they make. If you're going to buy a fish and you have just a 29-gallon BioCube, you want to buy a hippo tang. If you want to buy a 1-inch hippo tang for a 29 BioCube, go ahead, but have realistic expectations that fish is not supposed to be in there. You're probably going to get a lot of hate for having it in there and showing people.
Yep.
But don't think about yourself when it comes to your inhabitants, because you don't have to live in this box, right? You don't have to be in there. So that's when, when it comes to aquascaping and coral placement and fish selection, don't get two fish that eat your coral and don't get fish that want to eat each other.
Yeah.
I know that what is that fish that they eat down in Florida all the time that everybody used to like? The lionfish.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're cool. They got a great, they look cool and they eat things, but you're not going to have a happy tank. You're just not. And then you're not going to want to stick your hand in there. I mean,
honestly,
what's the fun in that?
This is probably sexist of me, but I always thought of the lionfish as what 16-year-old boys want. Because it's such a cool fish. And look, watch it eat all these little fish.
Yep.
Yeah, no.
And then, I understand that.
Well, I once had a piranha and it came to me with a tank. It was the survivor of a school of 7 piranhas that unfortunately the owner neglected the tank for a while and had an ammonia incident, and this was the lone survivor. And I called him Buddy, and he was red belly, size of my iPad.
Jeez. And
the teeth on the guy were just stunning. Nice fish. And I decided I wasn't going to keep him. I did some research and learned that they do better in schools than they do as solitary animals.
Yep.
And
you have the pack mentality.
Yeah. And I couldn't stand the thought of this poor guy because they live a long time too. So I put an ad on Kijiji and I put a price on this fish of $40 because I thought, okay, I'm not going to get all the 16-year-olds who just want to watch a fish eat other fish, right? And so I ended up getting the guy who has apparently the largest yellow belly piranha in captivity in the world in like a 2,000-gallon tank.
Wow.
And so he took the fish that I had and he was planning on growing him out in a 400-gallon tank all by himself. He came from a 55. That's what I had him in when I got him.
An upgrade, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
Ooh, started from the bottom, now we're here.
And I felt bad when he was talking to me about, what his plans were and his experience and all that kind of thing. And I said, okay, don't pay me for him because I just wanted him to get a good home. And the only reason I put that price on him was to weed out all the tire kickers, right? Who had all the wrong motivations for it. But I was quite happy to, and that fish chewed through 4 nets before we got him out of the tank.
Wow.
He was unbelievable. Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, I hear you on the habitat for the animals because that's what matters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think also with coral, I think people don't realize that they are a living animal.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't consider that, and and then they get mad that I don't want to ship, on a cold day. I try to avoid it if I can. I really do, because I mean that's not fair. I mean, you're gonna get a DOA, ticket there, and you're gonna be able to get your money, at a promo code, but that doesn't bring back the life of that animal,
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And Caleb is here. Caleb Chapman. Hey, Caleb. Glad you could make it. BRS introducing new fads every few months doesn't help. Yeah, and we had this discussion on a couple live streams ago or a while back where I really admire the amount of work that BRS puts into their videos because they're always educational. On the other side, they are always sales and merchandising to some degree, but they're a business. So of course they're going to be letting people know the products they have, how they work, what they do. and they're not going to talk necessarily about products they don't carry. But at the same time, they do put a lot of money, I feel, into these experiments that they do, these investigations that they do. So it's kind of there's kind of a balance there that they have to strike between staying in business and making sure they move products and investigating things to make sure that the products that they're selling are things that people are going to benefit from. So yeah, but you're right. Fads come along so often in this hobby. Oh, hey, Fletcher, right? What else have we got here? I think we have a couple more new people who've popped in. Camaro Kid, I said hi to you. Marcus's Reef. Hey, Marcus. Sophisticated. I like it. Here's a question for you, Travis. Does Travis have any advice for hobbyists that want to turn the hobby into a business? Is there anything in particular he'd recommend starting with?
Well, if you're talking about, maybe growing coral and selling coral, I guess we can primarily go down that route, because there are so many different aspects to the hobby that you can turn into a business. I mean, if you just want to make RO filters, you can make a business out of that. But so when it comes to growing coral, which a lot of us are actively trying to do, start local, throw some stuff on Craigslist, and go to shows and swaps and try to get your name out there. I'll tell you right now that one of the reasons why I'm so successful is because of YouTube. I mean, it's just, that's why BRS does it as well. And Marine Depot is you make content. Not only are you entertaining people, but you're also getting a point across, you're teaching, but you're also selling at the same time. So that's why, I tell people when people ask about trying to turn this into a business, it's you can have the best looking coral in the world, but if you don't put yourself out there in one way, shape, or form, no one's going to know who you are. So go to shows, get on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Just get out there, show your stuff, and and keep prices realistic too. That's the thing. Is just because it can be $200 frag doesn't mean you need to sell it for $200. Don't be that guy, right? So
it's so true. Yeah.
That's the
and
advice.
the other part of it is you have to make sure you're solid at what your abilities are, whatever that happens to be. If you, like you said, if you're going to make RO filters as a business, make sure they're good quality. And so that applies also to the coral that you grow. Make sure that you're able to do it. And that the frags that you're selling to people are like the steps that you go to, Travis, to avoid getting pests and passing pests along to people. That's a huge thing. Even algae, because if I can bring a frag home and get rid of all the algae on the frag plug and on the skeleton of the coral just by dripping hydrogen peroxide really carefully all over it, why can't that vendor do the same thing? I mean, I know about algae, I know what happens and how quick it is to build up, but it just is, it's a thing that you do, Travis, that I don't think a lot of businesses really think about. I don't think they think it matters much.
Well, yeah, I mean, I understand two sides of that. So I do understand the side where, you're taking every step you can for quarantining and making sure, pest wise. So, I mean, that's solid. But, the algae thing too, unfortunately, I have dealt with some hairiness on frag plugs before. And it's because our systems are always changing. They're always balanced. Sometimes life gets in the way. We all know this. Things come up and you lose track of, the tank. But I do my best to make sure that everything is as clean as it can be and is high quality as I possibly can, because remember, that thing's going in a bag or a cup for the next 24 hours, and who knows how many hands are going to touch it, who knows what that thing's going to go through. And I'm actually working on developing some way to hold the bags more securely and protect them during transit, 3D printed wise. So that's something I've got on the list. And I got a cool little video I'm going to add to it, try to test it out and see how it does. But I guess the point is that, you could take every step, right? So you're going to try to prevent pests by quarantining stuff. I mean, and be honest with yourself. If you're importing coral and you know that there's aptasia or there's a chance that there's something on there, don't sell that stuff. Okay. Take the time to make sure that it's clean, because all it's going to take is if you sell a piece of Monty and it has Montipore eating nudibranchs and you sell that to somebody, all it's going to take is one person and you're done. They're going to, it's going to get out that you have that stuff. and your selling Monty days are over at that point.
Yeah. Well, maybe even further than that, because Monty eating nudibranchs are one of those things you can starve them out pretty quick if you know they're there. I've had them a number of times, and I've always been able to pinpoint the frags they came in on, and it was always from the same place. And I don't buy from that place anymore.
Exactly. I mean, when I was importing coral, I got them in one time, and I mentioned this in I think a rambling video a while ago. But when I was actively importing and going through that whole process, I got them in, and I lost a 5-gallon bucket full of Monty. 5-gallon bucket of skeletons, and I was like, you know something, I'm done. No more importing. I am done.
Yeah.
I mean, that stuff never touched the main display. It was a separate system, thankfully. But if anything like that, or even an acroporiting flatworm, which I've also gotten on importing, because I there was a point where I was importing acro colonies and cutting them up, which in hindsight was just the dumbest thing that I've done. I lost so much money, and then the chances of getting a pest like even just red bugs, flatworms, stuff like that, the chance is so high, even with dipping and all that. And if any of that stuff ever got to the main display, I wouldn't even be here right now. I mean, it's
you got to be careful. Tyler Fronek says, custom aquariums is half a mile down the road from me, Travis. Just saying, I'm retarded and forget all the time seeing Alex's overflow. In my defense, the sign and building are in between storage units. Oh, interesting. So is he in your neck of the woods then? Like, is custom aquariums close to you, Travis?
Oh, no.
No?
No,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. What state? I mean, he probably can't. I don't know if he can answer. I don't remember what state they're in. I know that it took a while to get to me.
It's in their custom aquariums is in Wisconsin.
Yeah, that's definitely not near me. No.
You say, I thought you were on the East Coast somewhere.
I'm in Pennsylvania. Yeah, I'm in close. Because it took a while to get to me.
Yeah. Hey, Fletcher Wright, glad to see you. There's Robert Poorman. Robert is in the UK, so he's up late. Reef to Sea Forever. What's cracking, reefers? There's MB Reef. He's back. I know where he's been. Marcus's Reef. Videos are all, but I think about BRS. I'm behind in the chat. You know how that feels, don't you, Travis?
Story of my life. It's okay, though.
Their videos are awesome. Tons of effort and knowledge. Just don't go above your level of comfort or experience. Yeah. What separates the men from the boys is playing out in a month or 12 what they say in 5 to 20 minutes. Yeah, sometimes there's a lot of work that goes into that. Alice Holbert says, yo, FishOfHex.
Yo, what's up?
Murphy says, some guy sent me a frag with Monty Nudie. He was forever known as Bug Boy.
Yeah, it spreads quickly. Yeah, you got to avoid that stuff.
Yeah. Yep. And Alice says she stopped buying 5 months ago during COVID. Stock and stuff in stores infested. So horrendous. Yeah, I just, I've gone to buying most of what I get now in person. And that's only because the vendor choices we have in Canada are limited. And we don't get the same kind of variety that you guys get in the States. Now that could just be names. It could just be the variety of names. This green base with purple polyps is, the same as what you guys get, only it's a different name. I don't know, but I kind of had a few really bad experiences. And the crazy thing is, it's things that they could have fixed if they just had thought about it. And I just decided I'm going to stick to in-person for a while until things change, and we'll see what happens.
I can't.
And you can't ship up here.
Anything. Go ahead.
You can't ship up here, so.
No. And I can't remember the last time I even bought myself a coral. I can't even. It's got to at least be almost. Yeah, since I started the tank, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, wow.
Yeah. Just Nano Reef says candycorals.ca. Yeah, actually, Just Nano Reef. So you're in Canada. I have just put a salt order in to Candy Corals to get some more Tropic Marin Pro Reef because nobody has it. And I do believe I have 3 buckets coming. And it's free shipping because it's over $350 on salt. So there you go. Okay. Yeah, Robert Poorman is in the UK. What's up, Travis? Hope all is well, bro.
It's good, man. What's up?
Yeah. So, Travis, you also fly drones.
Yeah, yeah. It's well, it's cold, so I'm not doing it now.
No,
But
no.
yeah, that was a hobby I picked up over the whole COVID stuff. Just kind of being home all the time. I mean, I'm home all the time anyways, but yeah, I think it's more putting them together. I think
Hmm.
building them is I enjoy that, but of course flying them is always fun. It's the crashing part that kind of sucks because I'm like, now I got to rebuild it or I lost it. I mean, I've lost hundreds of dollars in drones. They're just out in the field somewhere. I don't know. I still can't. They're just gone. Gone.
I remember one post you had on Instagram of that drone taking off. And I must
Yeah.
have matched, I must have laughed, I don't know, every time I saw that thing for 50 times because every time it happens, it made me jump.
Oh, that
It
thing,
was
yeah, that's
hilarious.
they move pretty good. I mean, I really do enjoy it. I'm hoping to kind of get my kids into that. We're kind of working on the bow hunting right now, trying to get them into that as well. So
Yeah.
we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad hunted with just a simple, like a longbow, a recurve.
Hmm.
And we grew up with my dad hunting to feed us. I mean, we didn't live in a trailer park. There's not a lot of those in Canada, but um, my mom used to talk about not having 10 cents to take the bus from one end of town to the other. And my dad worked like 60, 70 hours a week. And it was in the 60s. And, and he used to go hunting. And that's where I first got involved with when I started being exposed to guns and shooting and target shooting and skeet and all that kind of thing. And my mom used to have to tell us that it was chicken a la king to get us to eat the rabbit that he would get.
Yeah. I
And
like
his
rabbit.
yeah, and well, his big thing was all the development going around the town that we lived in was eating into the places he could go to hunt because he would make friends with certain couple of farmers and they don't mind if he goes out and gets clears an area of rabbits because of their vegetable gardens and stuff like that. And then they started selling the property, and eventually it reached a point where there was nowhere left to go that was, within an hour's drive because
Hmm.
the habitat was all farmland was gone.
And
So
what do you do
yeah.
at that point? So, I mean, he obviously had to find another source, right?
Well, I think at that point was just when the government started getting really, really strict about storing guns and ammunition and registration and all of that. So he just sold all his guns, and he was probably, I want to say, in his late 50s at that point. So he just sold all his guns, and
Mm.
I mean, I didn't. The last time I did any shooting was in college, and it was skeet, and it's just one of those things that you get away from.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy archery. I'm what my third year now on it. I don't know. It's just something about it. You have to like my this past October I got that well I call my 8.25 point buck, but
Yep.
the amount of I guess I wouldn't say science, but I mean you gotta play the wind, you gotta do your tracking, I mean everything has to line up for this mature buck to come walking in 20,
Mm-hmm.
30 yards and then be able to stop him and then get that shot and then be able to track him. Luckily for me, the area I was in was just kind of swirling, and he came in at the wrong time. Uh, broadside at 20 yards, and then I just watched him walk away and lay down.
Yeah.
So I couldn't get any. I mean, besides dragging him out, that took several hours. But I mean, I couldn't have been more blessed that that worked
Yeah.
out. But I don't know, archery just you can't get any closer. Besides
Hmm.
that guy who runs around with a spear on YouTube, you literally can't get any closer to nature than being
Yeah.
out there with a bow.
Yeah.
You just can't. So.
Yeah. I remember my dad always used to get really angry because the what he would call the yahoos who don't understand the full cycle of things, and they would be such poor shots they would wound the animal
Hmm.
and not bother to find it.
Yep,
And
I've
that
seen that.
really used to make him mad. And it just such disrespect. I guess it's an extension of what we do with our aquariums. Like it's respect for the animal.
Hmm. Yeah, there's
And
just
I'm
people out there who simply don't care. I mean, that's the
yeah,
truth. And it's sad, but I've ran into that before. I mean, you see a buck wobbling across the road and he's missing half his front leg, and you're like, well,
yeah,
somebody definitely didn't just, they just took the wrong shot. They wanted to rush it. So unfortunately,
yeah, yeah. Johnny Martinez asking you which salt you use.
It's gonna be Fritz Blue Box, which, by the way, I will be selling on the website soon.
Oh, cool. Will you get in
Yeah.
the? Oh no, you can't send to Canada. I was using Fritz for a long time, except I can no longer get the box that has 4 50-gallon bags because we just can't wrestle with the 200-gallon box. I mean, I'm not getting any younger, but it just got too difficult to wrangle those things,
that up.
and we can't get them anymore in the 4 bags up here. No one's stocking them. They're like $4 more.
I haven't
to
seen it
buy
in 4
4
bags in
bags.
forever. I didn't know they still made that. Oh,
Maybe they don't. Maybe that's why we can't get it.
well, maybe if I can get the shipping to Canada reasonable, I will take 1 bag and I will make 4 little bags, and then I'll ship it to you with 4 little bags.
Oh, that's so nice. And
If I
each
can
one of
figure out
those
the
little
shipping.
and each one of the little bags will probably weigh about 20 pounds.
Yeah.
Alice Holbert says, no shame in putting super fresh food on the table. No shame. Got first moose this year. Woohoo.
That's a lot
Awesome.
of meat too. That's good.
Yeah.
That's the thing is you shoot, you get 1 deer, or sorry, 1 buck. I got 52. I mean, we do tacos every week, so I got 52 weeks of tacos from
Nice.
one day.
I remember my dad got a moose. They got a tag. You have to get tags, and he went with a group of guys way, 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 way up in northern Ontario, not just what we call the north, which would be, Lake Huron and all that, but like way up. And so they got a moose, and so his share, he gave some to us, and I was pregnant at the time, and so it must have been 1981 maybe, and I found out at that time that moose has the lowest fat content of any red meat at all.
Really, even lower than deer. Wow.
Yep. And when
Wow.
you cook it the right way, oh my God, it is amazing. And so we ate a lot of moose that winter when I was pregnant, and it just felt like the healthiest thing to do right then.
I wonder because you have ever heard of rabbit starvation before, where people, if you can actually starve to death on rabbits because there's not enough body fat in it. I wonder what percentage that a rabbit has compared to a moose. I'm gonna have to Google that because you said it's the lowest fat percentage. I'd be interested to see to what extent.
Yeah. Well, it's because there's no. I mean, your body needs fat to lubricate itself to some degree. Like,
there's
your
certain cells in the
joints
body that require the fat to be able to work. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's talking about salt now. Tropic Marin. Yeah, that's what I've been using is the Tropic Marin. What else have we got here? Reefing with O was here earlier, but I don't see him right now. Any more questions? Oh, they're talking to Reefing with O. Did I miss him saying something?
I'm not seeing it on the other chat.
Yeah. Just watch out for the moose knuckle. And be reef. That's real archery. Yeah.
I got a question for you, Travis.
Sure.
Have you ever completely blacked out your whole basement at night with your tanks and gone looking for bioluminescence?
No, I've never done that. I ain't got that kind of time, bro.
It's a good thing to try and fall asleep to.
But I'm telling you, when you say that, it reminds me of that movie the boys watch all the time. It's the Moana, where the bioluminescence algae, where he says it, where the crab says it, where you got distracted. No, I've never done that.
Yep, you have to cover up every piece of light from equipment and everything with electrical tape until it's
there's
pitch
no way
black.
I could do that. Yeah, there's no way I could do that. That would take me half a day to get that done right now.
Yeah, you got to shut it off or cover it up. It's a process.
Yeah.
Alice Holbert wants to know why you're behaving, Travis.
Oh, okay. You must miss the earlier parts here. This is actually who I am.
Yeah.
To a certain extent. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think the thing too is you get sort of into a groove, and of course your audience feeds on it, and it becomes like a feedback loop that's really hard to stop. Hence,
yeah. Well, I mean, I enjoy it. Yeah. Go ahead.
Hence your 50% off sale.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I won't say that wasn't planned, or was it?
It happened awful fast. It happened awful fast.
Sometimes, sometimes things happen for a reason.
Yep,
That's all I got to
yep.
say about that.
Well, and the people on the live stream got the benefit of, you know, of all of that. So that worked out.
And I got Andrea, what was that? 70 some odd orders in 24 hours. So yeah. Was it planned? You'll never know.
Oh, hey, ATF in the house. Nice to see you. Oh, geez. Gabe's Reef Tampa. Can we get a few expletives just so we know it's really you?
I don't know to what extent. Hello, Gabe. I hope you have a great day. Your dragon is the greatest thing I've ever seen. I hope you keep it in there.
Oh, man, that's funny.
But
oh, geez. Somebody's sending me email. I've been so involved in this conversation. I guess I should look at my email and see if anybody's asking for the link.
yeah, I do have about a couple minutes left, and I'm going to have to head out. I got
Yeah.
a phone call I got to make in a little while, but we've been going pretty good. What, 90? Well, I came in a little bit later, so probably 90 minutes for me so far. For
Holy
us.
smokes, yeah.
Something like that. That's
Yeah.
pretty good, right?
I think it's great. I'm surprised because I know you're a busy guy and you probably have 29 things to do before you hit the sack tonight. So, you know.
Oh, it's fine. Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't mind. It kind of it's a welcome distraction. I like to call it that. It's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and I appreciate it because you're an interesting guy, and there's a lot more to you, I think, than people realize. And I'm as time goes by, I'm more and more appreciating where you are now compared to where you started because I know what's gone into it. And like I really hope that at some point I can reach the same level where if someone asks me a question, I can answer it right away based on experience and knowledge and exposure to different things. Because I think when you reach that point in the hobby, your thinking changes because it's not all taken up with concerns about, am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? What about that? You can then start to really apply what you know and start doing things differently. And I think I'm verging on that with this new system because there's going to be a lot of different things going on with this tank. And it'll be interesting to see where it is a year from now because
and just think of everything you're going to learn in the next year that you could carry on in a conversation with somebody who's trying to do something similar. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, this supersized basement sump stuff is no joke.
But it's the best way to go. It really is. I mean, can you imagine doing all that stuff on your brand new floors and all this stuff?
Oh,
yeah. So, I mean, you can't ask for a better situation than having a basement sump. I mean,
that's right. Well, for me, it's crawling around on the floor to reach things. I'm so sick of that. In the other tank, the UV sterilizer was on the back wall of the cabinet. And the only way to even get in there to change the bulb was we had to cover the whole sump with a towel and tape it all around the outside edges in case we dropped one of those stupid little screws that hold the cover on. Like it was no more of that. Everything is at a convenient height down there. I do have to climb up on staircases and ladders, but that's better than having to crawl around
barrel and stuff.
Yeah, we've got 32-gallon brute. Well, it's a U line up here for the ATO. We have 125-gallon RO storage and about 130-gallon saltwater storage in 2 separate tanks.
Okay, yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Yep. So one of my 4 stock tanks is going to be for water changes. It's 100 gallons. And it's going to have a lid on it. And the sole purpose of it is water volume. I might put rocks in there just to add for the biofiltration. But the whole idea is I take the lid off, I drain it, I divert the water. We've arranged for that. And drain it, fill it up again, turn the valves again, and everything goes back online. And that's something I'm really looking forward to being able to do. I mean, not that I'm going to do 100-gallon water changes.
I don't able to just turn a valve is perfect. Yeah, that's what I implemented on a client's build. It took it up over the top, dropped it in. You didn't do nothing. You can't ask for. I mean, it's perfect.
No,
I'd have that now. I mean, I'm going to have that on the new setup, but I mean, right now everything's just kind of temporary. So
yeah, yep. Benny wants to know, when are you having 50% off for torches? Benny, you need to follow Travis. I don't think he does torches.
No, I haven't sold a torch in 2 years, maybe something like that. It's pretty much all SPS, buddy. So, and a lot of beginner stuff.
Yeah. So Johnny Martinez, do you think nitrate of 4 parts per million and phosphate of 0.04 will be a problem for SPS corals?
Well, I think your NO3 is perfect. I mean, you're between 3 to 5 ppm, but your PO4 is a little low. I would push it up to at least 0.07 to 0.15 because you are getting to the threshold. If it dips a little bit farther, you might run into some dino. So, yeah, I think just bring your PO. Well, it's PO4. I know you have PO3. I think that just might be a typo, but yeah, just bring that up a little bit. You should be fine. So.
JT Reefer wants to know what power head Alex uses on a plywood tank. Oh, that's a good question. Oh, he's coming back.
I can't. Hey, I kept the headset on so I could hear. I have used Gyres, Ecotech MP40s, Rossmont waivers, and then this time around the plywood tanks are probably going to receive some of the same, and then the display is going to have custom that is yet to be built.
So what kind of magnets do you use for those, Alex? Do you get like superconductor magnets that are like this big to hold it through the wood, or? No,
because I always keep sections at 3/4 of an inch thick on a lot of the tanks, and the magnets they'll still hold sufficient enough for the. I think the MP40 are kind of pushing the limits of what it could do. Yep. But I think a 60 will do 3/4 no problem.
Right. Oh, cool. Thanks, JT Reefer. That was a good question. Travis Q-Balls Reef has a question. I know you got to shoot. Do you plan on having more coral available soon?
Well, I have a ton of it ready, but I want to wait before I put it online until I get the new tank set up, the new tub, just because I have to move everything around. And if I mix something up, I might misplace a whole bunch of WYSIWYG. They might be in the wrong section, or they might not. It just sometimes they fall out, and it just kind of happens. So I don't want to take any chances of messing up anybody's order based on just being in the wrong spot. So once this tub is up, and the tub again is going to be here Wednesday, it'll probably take me a couple days. I mean, I'm going to work on the overflow between now and then. So within a couple weeks, I would say, to be safe.
Yeah. I love the 3D printed frag plugs you're making. And question I have about those is, when someone gets one of your frags in, like mounted in one of those, will they have to remove the frag from the plug to mount it on their rocks, or will the coral encrust over those? How does that work from that perspective?
Well, it's made from PETG, which is reef safe. So you're okay with having it in there. I just made a new version of it because the stem wasn't as long and it was tipping over with heavier frags. So I fixed that. Now they are 100% infill and they do sink. I would say do what you do with any other frag plug. What I would do is I would take a coral, I would take it off the frag plug, and I would put it on another one. I mean, you can, that's just strictly habit. You don't have to, or you can put it on your rock structure. It will encrust just as it would on a regular frag plug.
Cool.
And, they're reef safe, so you should be fine.
Yeah, I wondered about that when I first saw them. And I had kind of an idea when you mentioned that you made the stem longer so that they wouldn't pull out of a rack. If they were kind of like little springs, if there were slots cut up in them so that you pinch the frag plug and the slots go together and then you slide it down in the hole and let go and they come apart. I don't know. That's probably too complicated.
I mean, no, you could print that, but I think the concept is good because I know people build frag racks that have like this liner in it that actually holds the plug. I've seen those before. I think building a frag plug like that might piss people off.
Yeah.
I think it might be extremely frustrating if because the filament isn't always as flexy and it might be a little bit of an issue to print depending on the angle. And when it comes to 3D printing, it's all about angles. If you get to a certain percentage, it's not going to print right. So I foresee that maybe being a headache to print.
Interesting.
But it's a good concept though.
Interesting. Well, I think it's cool those frag plugs because they're going to be much lighter weight than ceramic or cement or whatever people are using, and just easier to handle. The biggest problem I have is hacking the stems off. If I can't get the coral off the plug, sometimes you can't, without destroying it. I always end up firing them across the room because I
The bone
can't
cutter.
hold on to them. Yeah. Crazy, man. Oh, well. First world problems.
Right? You've been watching my stuff for sure. But yeah, I definitely appreciate you bringing me on. And it looks like we had a pretty consistent, about 50 viewers the whole time. That's pretty good. I mean,
Well,
it seems,
that's awesome. Yeah.
yeah, it seems pretty
Yeah.
good.
Usually I get to a high of around between 40 and 45.
Okay,
And
that's good.
it always shocks me at the end when I still have 20 or more. And sometimes we go for 3 hours, which is a long time for me because I get tired. But when you're having a good conversation, it's really hard to just stop.
Mhm.
And so I really appreciate the time you spent, Travis. It's been very enjoyable, and the time has just flown by. So thanks for that.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, I'll come back. Maybe we'll reschedule this for
Yeah,
a month or so from now. I'll
that
come back.
that'd be great because everyone will have updates by then.
Yep. Yeah, sounds good. Well, hey, I appreciate it, and I'm gonna have you in the background if you're gonna keep going. I'm gonna get some stuff going on downstairs, so I'll be listening. So
Yeah. Okay. Good.
thank you. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Thanks
good
again.
talking to you, Travis.
See you later, Alex.
Good night.
See you later.
Cool. That was cool. I was so nervous. I think I'm always a little nervous when I have someone different on, and then, especially if it's somebody you really respect, then it's like, oh, I don't want to say something stupid.
Yeah, I remember when he was first setting up that 300, and man, is that just a gorgeous tank. Even though it gets ripped up by some of his fish, it's still a
Yeah.
gorgeous tank.
Yeah, birth of the Flamingi tang. I would love to have a Flamingi tang, but I don't know that I would ever have a tank large enough to give it the right kind of space. Marcus's Reef says, Alex, you're working way too hard for it to be this late. This is why you've gotten so far so fast. I don't think I've seen a stream where he wasn't steadily doing something. He's a machine.
Yeah, I think I worked until midnight last night and got most of the 700 done, and then this morning I got up and finished the rough end for it, and then I started working on this, which I'm not going to quite get as far as I wanted to today, but I got the glass up on its custom glass holder, and I'm out of battery charge for now. Maybe I'll get a little further along and chopping off the top or the bottom of the tank.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, you do sound tired, unless you've been drinking beer, which maybe you have, but.
No, just I have, but it's not alcoholic. So.
Okay, there you go.
No, just tired. It's been a long couple days, and then I'll see how far I get with stuff tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm hoping. I'm kind of thinking at the rate I'm going that by maybe late next week I'll have this sheet of glass ready to go and the 700 ready for the glass.
Cool.
So if that happens, which I don't think I'm getting the glass for my 400, this tank will get the glass sealed in place first.
Right.
So, but yeah, just have to see what happens.
Hey, Filipino reefer Benny. Awesome stream, ReefGrrl. Gotta go. Have a wonderful evening, y'all. One love to all reefers. Thanks for coming by, Benny. I hope you got your package. According to the tracking, it was supposed to be delivered yesterday. That's your prize from the giveaway a couple weeks ago. Okay, who else we got? Everybody saying thanks to Travis. Thanks, Paul, Broke Reef Man 45. Oh, Robert Foreman says Travis was my intro into the acro game. Gabe's Reef Tampa, did you stop the troll questions? You know what? I think I showed you guys. I even dug out some glasses a couple weeks ago, and I've just not used them.
Yeah, I did notice. I thought you had them out at the beginning, and then
Yeah,
I was like, maybe it happened while I was sawing on the tank here.
well, no, I have my glasses on, Alex. I found them. I went down and I thought, okay, I know where they were. This is the box they should be in, and I found them. They're they're arm's length, so I can actually read the comments without having to squint. Anyway, but I think I need a new prescription. They're just a little bit. Oh, Tyler Fronek. Well, thanks for coming by. Go Packers. Who else we got? Oh, Johnny Martinez. Yeah, Johnny. Great question and answer stream. Yeah, that's Travis. If you've not run across his Q&A live streams weekly, it's my favorite thing to listen to while I'm doing stuff, even driving in the car. And I always pick something up or learn something. And it isn't always about reefing, but it's just a great sort of reinforcement of, even it makes you think about things that you didn't realize you might have had a question about, or maybe you were wondering about once and somebody asks a question. And it's true. Just what Travis said, he will say if he doesn't know. And then it's just a matter of figuring out other ways to do research. But yeah. This is really cool. Cue Balls Reef. Don't be nervous about the upgrade. Just did it with my 72 gallon to 180 gallon. Make a plan and execute. Wow. Yeah, that's a good size upgrade. Yep. So far, our plan is going the way we want it to. The only hitch we're running into at the moment is supplies, because we need sheets of plywood to create the mounting surface for the lights in this room. And we're going to get melamine tabletops, because that's what's going to accomplish what we were going to end up with the sheets of plywood. Because you can't get 4x8 sheets of plywood. Well, what you can, but they're $85 for a 3/4 inch 4x8 sheet of plywood. And that's not even the best grade. That's just a paintable grade. Good on one side, I guess. So my husband did some looking around, and he found melamine tabletops that are 30 inches wide by 72 inches long. And I think he said they're around $54 a piece, something like that. But all 6 edges are covered. So all we have to do is drill all the holes where they need to go and mount those on the ceiling in the way we had planned to. And we can also make part of the canopy using those. So you just have to look for different things. So far, we're not really held up for timing, but we've had to change a few things here and there about what we're planning to do. There we go. Who else have we got here? His tank rows are hilarious. Yeah, Alice Holbert. I'm taking my courage in hand, and I'm going to send a video of my temporary tank, because I think I've showed you guys short videos of it, and you've maybe seen it in some of my reminder videos and things like that. But the true extent of the horror show that surrounds that tank, I have never shown anybody. So that'll be on the video that I send him for roasting.
Sorry about the noise.
No, that's okay. I fixed it.
Yeah, my temp tank's a horror show too, so I literally pulled a softball size clump of compacted hair algae out of it yesterday.
I saw that. That was like unbelievable. It was the size of a can. It was this, both hands, and like you said, compact. Yeah.
Yeah, I did a 20-gallon water change because I hadn't done one in a while, and I was like, this stuff's starting to get like branchy. It's so long. So, and it was all coming off real easy, which tells me it's kind of like depleted everything there. So, yeah, it was bad. I'm in desperate need of herbivores and a dedicated refugia, but my Spanish hog, he'll kill any snails I put in there, and I don't trust putting a sea urchin in with a pond liner.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't want to find out it can cut through it that way.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking in my frag tank, I was looking and I was going to get like some 16th inch acrylic and make acrylic lining panels for the inside of the frag tank so I could put urchins and stuff in and not worry about them bothering it.
Cue Balls Reef, I would love to join your show and show off the new build. That would be awesome. Maybe next weekend. Well, it so happens that next weekend is when I was considering doing an international live stream to try and catch a bunch of different time zones. And I need to do some research so that I can put together a video and so that I can make a decision on a time that's not going to be stupid early or stupid late for anybody, which may not be possible, but I'm going to do my best. So I don't know that I would be able to do both Saturday night and Sunday in the afternoon. So I was thinking of maybe skipping Saturday night and just doing Sunday at around noon or 1 p.m. Eastern. I know that noon would make it really early on the West Coast for any of you who are in Pacific time or even Central time, maybe Mountain. I don't know. So maybe 1 o'clock. And I think that might catch a lot of places. So I'm thinking the 28th, which is the Sunday, I think February 28th might work for that because it would really be great to be able, yeah, the 28th, to see what everybody's talking about when they drop in and can't stay long because, for heaven's sakes, it's the middle of the night. So, yeah, if you keep an eye on the channel, I'll put a video about it. Oh, hey, Ryan Williams. Oh, here we go. Tyler Fronek, if you need a confidence booster on new tank, I'll send before and after of mine. Like Q-Ball said, but plan on the unplanned that's not planned, then plan. Oh yeah, that should be on a t-shirt for reef keepers because so true. So very true. Okay. February 28th, best day of the year. Is that your birthday, Alice? That sounds like it might be because it's your birthday. Well, my birthday's this week too. Coming up. Not going to say when. And I don't know what we're going to do. We did the early February virtual birthday thing. I do have a picture. Okay, everybody, it's time. It's time for the picture, this week's picture of the baby boy and what he's doing now. And I don't think I taught him this, but yeah. He apparently has learned that now. And he's 1 year old and he's sticking out his tongue. And his other favorite game is he's walking completely. He goes and he pulls the floor registers, the furnace registers out of the floor. And then he goes around finding stuff to fire down there. And then he looks at his dad and he goes, ugh. And so his dad has to go and pull everything out. And if he doesn't go fast enough, the baby puts his hands on his face and pushes his head away. It's hilarious. Anyway, growing up really fast. So what else can we talk about? I think I did load a video to show you guys. Oh yes, the ATO. Remember me talking about the ATO contraption my husband came up with to show when the trash can was full of water, because the location of it is somewhere that I can't see from where I have to turn the pump on and off. It's across the room beside the RODI container. So I took a time lapse of the water level indicator. So here, I'll show it to you now. So that takes roughly 10 minutes to fill the container. And essentially what it is a little spice jar. Well, it's actually from cake decorating, so it's made of plastic. And he put enough stuff in it to weigh just a little bit more than that red weight. And so when he puts the lid on, he's got fishing line tied around it. And the fishing line comes out a hole that's drilled in the lid of the ATO container and goes up and over a pulley. And it's braided fishing line. So if it were monofilament, it might wear through, but it's braided. So it's not going to be abraded. Sorry. And it's attached to that red conical weight, which is actually from a balloon bouquet. So he took it out of there. It's like some sort of a loose cement. It's like, it's not really dense. And he made the little container inside the ATO can weigh slightly more than the weight on the outside. And the reason for that is that as the water level rises, this little plastic container, because it's buoyant, it rises on the top of the water. And then when it gets to the top, he marked on the wall the full and the empty positions. So we know that when it's empty, the weight is up. When it's full, the weight is down. And he had to make it slightly heavier inside the tank because he was concerned that as the water level went down, he wanted to make sure that this little container would stay in contact with the water and would actually be able to pull the weight up, that it wouldn't be too light to do that job. So it is very slick. And the nice thing is I'm on the other side of the room with the pump switch. I turn it on, I can go over there, and as soon as it gets to where it's full again, I can just shut it off. So he got that idea from some kind of a plumbing video. So way cool. I don't know if I have anything else for you. Let's go to the comments. Thanks, Johnny. Happy birthday. Many more blessed years to come and streams to come. Thanks, Johnny.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool idea there with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's... Go ahead.
I was just going to say it's got a good visual. Some reason it's making me think of like petroleum tanks where they'll have like float tapes on them and stuff to see that from the outside when you can't see in the tank.
Yeah. Well, on my previous system, we had sight glasses. So there are actually bulkheads drilled in with clear hose in between, and they worked really well. The only thing I didn't like was eventually after 3 years, they did start getting a coating on the inside of algae or whatever. Both of them, the RO container and the other one. And they were in a laundry room that was dark most of the time, but the algae still grew. And so it became really difficult. Plus, he used a fishing float, a balsa painted wood ball that would float up and down on top of the water. And it kind of limited the amount of gallons that it could indicate. So when the ball was right on the bottom, there were 6 gallons left. But as soon as it dropped below that, of course, I couldn't tell.
No.
So I just had to kind of learn from experience. When I looked in the water, I could tell how many more gallons were in there. I had to lift the lid up to look at that. And it went up to 16. But I knew I could fit 19. So I would count how long it took to go from 1 gallon to the next. And then when it got to 16, I had to count to 15 every time for every gallon. So it was, I could work with it, but this is going to be so much better. And the trash can has 32 gallons, and it's probably full, I would say 30 gallons, because the water level stops about 3 inches from the top. And the little tiny container that's inside stays upright the whole time, and it just touches the lid when it's full. So that's the maximum I can get, and I don't need to worry anymore about not being able to see it, not knowing how much water is left. Of course, I won't know number of gallons, but that doesn't really matter because I just turn the pump on and off as necessary. So yeah, going to be slick. Cue balls reef. Do you think return nozzles are enough surface agitation? Thinking of moving my power heads lower to stir my substrate more. What do you think, Alex? Are you frozen? Alex is frozen. Unless he's playing Stay Really Still. Are you using the random flow generator nozzles by any chance? Cue balls? I don't know if you've heard of those. Oh, we lost Alex. They're essentially a volute that has 5 sections inside. Is it a volute? Is that what it's called? And the water gets... You froze.
Yeah, I can't walk to that corner of the basement.
You need a booster.
Yeah, I took it off Wi-Fi because it was acting strange earlier, but
So what do you think? Do you think return nozzles are enough surface agitation? You could tell by looking, right?
yeah. Well, I mean, unless you're actually measuring to see, it should be more than enough on its own. Especially if you got to remember, if you have an overflow and a sump, all the agitation of the water that's happening at that point in the oxygenation that's going on there, the surface agitation, that is going to become a lot more critical if you're in more of an emergency situation.
Yeah.
Or you're trying to guide like your little oil slick that happens on the top of your reef to the overflow or something. But yeah, generally you're fine with just a return would be just fine.
And this is in a 180. I'm assuming that's the tank you mean. Cue balls a 180. I'm getting 4 random flow generator nozzles for my new build, and each return is going to be split. And I love those things. Absolutely love those things. And they do provide an incredible amount of sort of turbulent flow. And if you put them so that they're aimed slightly at the surface, they really do agitate a lot. Yeah, 180.
Yeah, I gotta test one of those out one day. They've always been very intriguing. I thought about getting one for the last tank, but I just never got around to it. So
yeah, no moving parts, but it doesn't mean they don't need maintenance, because just like any pipe, they do get clogged up over time. Stuff builds up on the inside of there are 5. Yeah, it's helical. There's 5 twisted, chambers inside. And then at the back, there's a cutout. So the water comes through the return, and the motion of the water that comes out the return draws in water from behind. But because it's channeled and the channels are twisted around each other, it goes in all different directions. And you can really see it when you have them set close to the surface of the water, because periodically they do draw down air and shoot it out, but it's not consistent. It's just every once in a while. It's fascinating. So I've used those on, where did I get my first one? I think I got my first one for my 20 gallon. No, my first one was for the Red Sea tank shortly after I got the tank, just around when they were becoming available. I guess it would have been 2017. Yeah, 2017. And I think they do a great job adding turbulence to the flow that comes into the tank. I'll use one on my Nano, but they're expensive for a nozzle. Yeah, I compare them more to the price of a power head, because really that's the function that they're carrying out, I think.
I haven't even looked to see how much those things are.
Yeah, I don't know anymore.
I remember I looked at 1.5 inch ones a long time ago, but it's been a while. And since I'm only gonna have one return pump, I don't know if I'm gonna need one.
Yeah, that's right. But you've got the monster of all monster return pumps. Well, you could split. I mean, you could split it.
So I've decided that with my return, it's going to, because of the length of the tank, I am going to try something a little different, and I'm going to put one return on one end and all the drains on the other. So
You mentioned that. I think that's a great idea.
that way it'll kind of force the water to go through the system.
Yep.
Because it will take a while to get from one end to the other. And that's where I've just been really toying with the idea of just custom flow pumps.
Mm-hmm.
Bumping stuff over here.
Yeah. Yeah, my basement's going to be pretty crowded once I have 8 or 9 rock totes lined up cooking away.
I haven't even looked at my rocks yet, and it's gonna take a while. It's gonna be a lot of hammers and smashing and hammer drill going off when I go to those. So
Well, I would love to see video of when you open your buckets of sand.
the lovely smell that they'll have.
Just Alex reacts to sand that's been in buckets for 4 months.
It'd be a truer test to have my wife be the. I don't think that I would be in a very good standing though if I did that. So, because
probably not.
I figured they sat in a hot storage unit for a few months, and then the cold winter, and
Yep.
I didn't rinse any of it. It just basically went straight out and into the bucket. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to cleaning that sand too. It's going to be an adventure.
I think we're talking decades in the hot desert sun to purge it. So it's not something that's going to be easy to clean.
I actually have a decent idea for it, and what I'm gonna do, because when I originally I got my sand, I mixed several different grades of it, and what I'm thinking is similar to what they do for like gold mining and stuff, is have like a sluice box almost that has like different layers of screens.
Yep.
And get some water running over it and basically just, put a scoop or two in so it has to go through screens.
Mm-hmm.
And I could kind of roll it around and get some of that stuff off of it. And then, at the very bottom, just see what I get and stir that up, skim off the junk. And
I just had a vision of organic matter, i.e. dead snails, clogging up the screens. But who knows what condition they would be in by then, though? Like, would they be just jelly or?
I don't know. I guess we'll find out at some point. It probably won't be till the spring.
Yeah.
Because the sand, my intention with it is I will get it cleaned, and then it's either going to go back into buckets once I clean it, or if I really have the time or the space, I might put it out and bake it outside and dry it out. But it's such a long process to do that.
And you get humidity in the summer there, right?
Yeah, and
your neighbors are not going to like you if you do that.
Well, even in direct sun, it just doesn't. You have to unless it's like a centimeter or less of sand, you know, it's going to have wet spots in it because it just holds moisture well. And then you
Yeah.
get leaves and bugs and all kinds of other stuff in it. And I think there's a couple of buckets I might have done that too. And then after that, I was like, I just don't have time for this.
Yeah. I remember rinsing the sand or trying to rinse the sand before I put it in the holding tank. And I was very conscious of the fact I was at my daughter's place. They're on a well and a septic. So, first of all, I didn't want to use too much water. And second of all, I didn't want the sludge to go down their drain into their septic. And I probably did maybe a half of one bag before I went, you know what, this is just going to be really, really bad. And so I just put it straight in the tank. And that was a mistake. I should have just taken it all home and rinsed it all with a garden hose or done something. But for this tank, I've come up with, my plan is, this is what I want to do. I'm going to take a bag, they're 30-pound bags. I'm going to set it upright in my laundry sink. I'm going to pierce a whole bunch of pinholes all over the whole bag, probably about the size of maybe a darning needle, like not really tiny, but big enough water can flow through. I'm going to cut the top of the bag open a little bit, and I'm going to put tap water into it and just let it trickle through and just let it drain and keep draining and keep draining, because they don't use chloramines here, and chlorine will off gas by the time the stuff dries. And then just try and lay the bags as flat as I can on some sort of a heated surface or in front of a space heater. I don't know. I haven't quite gone that far yet. But the whole idea is to try and rinse the sand somewhat. Let the water and the sludge come out the pinholes. Let it dry somewhat. Then when it comes time to put it in the tank, lower it into the water, slice it open on the side, and then wiggle the bag off. I know I'll get a cloud, but not nearly the cloud I got from just dumping sand in the tank and then trying to move it around. So who knows? It may be the worst thing I ever did, but I don't know. I don't know how else to do it.
Yeah, when I was adding my sand in, I think I gave it like the 1 or 2 rinse method to get the sticks and little things out of it, and then it just went straight, basically just went in, and I was like, oh, whatever happens, happen. I mean, the tank was dry, semi-dry at the time I added it, but
Yeah.
this display, the sand is probably going to be relegated to only part of the reef.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tile the whole bottom, but I don't think it will be possible for there to be stand on the bottom of the SPS section this time around. It's just going to be way too much flow. So I'm going to relegate that to more of the LPS softy section and try to really spread out what I have. Because, you know, even in my tank, I had put enough in there to put 2 inches roughly in that tank. And some of the deep piles of the sand, how it got shifted by cucumbers and stuff, were like 5 inches deep. So I want to avoid that a bit this time if I can.
Yeah, mine, I calculated it to the bags that I have will give me 1 inch deep throughout. And my plan is to put all of the pieces of the aquascape up on the little legs, and hopefully the sand will not cover the bottoms of the rocks too much, but who knows? And I don't know that, I mean, you have to put the sand in after the rocks, and I have to put the water in before the rocks. So it's, either way, it's going to be a bit of a mess, but hopefully not as bad as I had to clean up with that temporary tank. That was really awful. Hey, Nat King Reef. Oh my God, YouTube unsubscribed me to your channel. I'm here wondering why you're not streaming. Oh my God, that's too bad. I have not got notifications of people doing videos in months. Now, is that because I got really busy and I didn't watch a couple of videos in a row from people? But why is that, everybody? Because I know I've been watching people's videos, but all of a sudden I'm not getting notifications.
It seems that YouTube does something every now and then and updates, and it just wipes out people's settings.
Yeah.
And I don't even know. I try to watch
Yeah, it's
things when I can, and
mhm.
you know, didn't get to hear too much, listen to too much today because I had the saw going most of the day. But on quiet days,
Yeah. Well, the nice thing about having these streaming things is I can plug my little device into my iPad and it can be in the middle of the basement and I can walk around all over the place doing stuff, putting things away, playing with rocks, moving water around and all of that, and I can still hear no matter where I go. So that has been that's been good. Oh,
yeah,
cue
yeah.
balls. Go ahead.
I plumbed the longest drain line I've ever plumbed this last week.
Oh my God. I think my longest piece of plumbing that's not a soft hose is about 2 feet. Well, maybe 3 feet, inch and a half, 3 feet.
Add like 47 feet onto that.
Oh my God.
Well, here, I'm not gonna change my camera because this thing is acting finicky, but I'll flip the phone around.
Okay.
So that drain for the
Yeah.
150,
A 2
it
inch?
starts there, inch and a half.
Inch and a half. Okay.
So it stakes down there, comes around here, goes down there. Hold on.
Oh my God. You're going to have to put webcams all over the place to watch for leaks when you test it.
And then it goes all the way down there. It's on a trestle.
Oh my God.
And then ultimately comes down here and it'll go into the sump. So, and then the return just goes straight up and straight over. But that return's still pretty long too. So
Yeah. 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 And you're having one abyss to run this.
no, so that will be run on a Jabo DCP 10,000 is going to run that return and the UV sterilizer. And then the 700 is going to get a DCP 10,000. The frag tank is going to get a DCP 15,000.
Right.
And then the displays will get, the abyss.
Oh, gotcha.
So
Let's see,
I might hook the abyss up earlier.
700 plus
Oh
400.
crap! I'm in the back corner. Oh, are you trying to calculate the fish room?
Yeah. then I know kind of how that compares to an abyss. You got to watch it with me, Alex. I can guess things based on very little evidence.
All right, so that I'm fish
You
room.
must be in that corner.
200.
You're breaking up.
How about now?
You're frozen, and I heard, how about now? Yeah, still breaking up.
Okay, hold on a second. Let's see what.
Yeah, cue balls, 5-gallon bucket with a hose coiled in. I want to keep the sand in the bags if I can, because I have 8 bags. They're 30 pounds each. And I'd like to be able to lay them spaced out in the tank and then just slice the bag open and slide it off the sand in place. Then I'll have a minimal amount of redistribution to do, just kind of where 2 bags didn't quite touch each other. Then I can kind of move the sand together. Oh, Alex is back. There you are. You were in a back corner.
I turned my Wi-Fi back on. It seems to be acting better now, so it should hopefully be good. So I think I was going to talk we were going to do the math for everything down here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so 265 for the first sump.
Mm-hmm.
700 for the refugium.
Yep.
150 for the mantis tank, 400 for the frag tank,
Yep.
500 for the inline water tank storage,
Okay.
and then I don't know, just call it somewhere between 300 and 500 for the second sump.
So the total of the max with the 500 would be 2,515 gallons. That's in your fish room. Cool.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Cool. Or it could be 2,315, depending on the last factor there, whatever that was.
Yeah, I haven't done the math in a while. It'll be 2,000 and some change.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we're trying to figure out the sump. And the nice thing is we have 2 containers that we have 50 gallons of salt water in. We measured it when we filled one, we made a line, and we're going to fill them up to that line. So at any given time, it's 100 gallons. So the nice thing is when we empty those things and pump the water over into the vats, I'm on my 3rd batch of 100 gallons. So I know that what is in the vats now is 200 gallons. So however much I end up using from these other 2 containers, that will give me a final total of how much is in the 4 tanks of the sump.
are you interconnecting those vats with bulkheads? Or just water?
Yes. Yeah. It's gravity, except for the last one. It's a waterfall.
Okay.
So the trash can overflows into a shallow 50, and the shallow 50 goes through a bulkhead and a pipe down into a 150. And then the 150 has a bulkhead that goes through into a pipe and goes over the top rim of the 100. That's for water changes. And also the emergency also goes along there. Same thing over the top. So that's gravity. And then from the 100 for water changes to the final 100, which is where the heating coil is, the return chamber, because it's the last one before the pumps. That has a bulkhead drilled in the side of it. It does not go over top of the tank.
Okay.
We could not get enough fall without the trash can ending up way too high for me to be able to reach. So we have roughly 4 to 7 inches between each tank. So the very last one had to be a bulkhead through the side of the final tank. And then, of course, the return pumps, if we do end up mounting them externally, that's still a question in my mind. I'm not sure. There'll be a bulkhead going out the opposite side of where the other water comes in. So
I did install my interconnect bulkhead on my 265.
yeah.
So I got the other one for the other sump right here.
The 99-cent clearance table.
Yeah.
Jesus.
You know, when you see 4-inch plumbing and you think, wow, that's pretty good, wait till you see a 4-inch bulkhead that's Schedule 80. And you start just going, this is a different type of size than I was originally thinking.
So I want to see the hole saw that you use to drill the 6-inch hole that you need for that thing.
Wow, you knew the hole size and everything on that.
I
Impressive.
did. You've just been through it all. I pick up a lot.
So there's the installed one.
Yeah.
So I cheated. I used my plunge router and made a circle cutter because I didn't have a hole saw big enough to do it.
Whatever works, right? Oh, Q Balls wants to know, how big is my DT going to be? I missed that part. It is 60 by 66 by 21, and with the water height that I'm going to have in there, it calculates to around 330 gallons. So 330 to 340, I think I figured. And then with displacement for rocks and everything, I'm thinking it'll be somewhere around 300, depending on where the finished water level ends up being. But that's what I was aiming for, was about 300 of actual water. and it's going to be set up kind of as a peninsula, but just barely, because it's 5 feet wide by 5.5 feet front to back, with a coast-to-coast overflow external. And the pipes will go down through the floor, over there. I could never do the weather on TV. I'd be pointing in all the wrong directions.
You know, you really don't have to be, you know, accurate with that stuff. I mean,
No,
you're wrong
you're
with it
not.
anyways. Did I say sun? I meant snow.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yes, and we know it's going to be 12.2 inches of snow that will fall sometime between 10:21 a.m. and 3:32 p.m. Come on. My husband's sick and tired of me ranting about how they can't even be accurate. How can they be precise? Come on.
It's a great job. I mean, you could be really bad at your job, but they're not going to fire you.
That's right.
And because all you got to do is go, hey, it's the weather. You can't predict this stuff 100%. So,
hey, cue balls, it is quite an upgrade, because my last tank was 100-gallon system volume, and this one will be 6 times the size of the last one. So, yeah, I do kind of wake up in the middle of the night and go, oh my God, how the heck did we get here? And when I was talking before about, you know, this 300 and some gallons of sump is no joke. It's expensive. And, you know, you have to just sort of go, okay, I got the budget. I got the global budget. As long as I stay within the global budget, I'm okay. And that's how you have to think. You can't look at the price of each one of those things and go, and it's going to have a hole in it. So what am I ever going to use it for if I don't, you know? Anyway.
yeah, the budget thing has been really important, because I had an idea what I had to spend to get my fish room operational, and you know, it's like, well, it's the one thing that I look at too. It's like, you know, I got all this stuff, and I was like, man, I gotta put salt water in this stuff. I gotta buy probably 3,000 gallons worth of salt.
Yep.
For this room. And that's why it's like, I don't want to, that's why I fill test everything with RODI water and not salt water.
Yeah, we did a freshwater fill to test, to try and get the pump set up and all that kind of thing. And then that water all got drained away. And I started going with salt, because I thought, okay, I know I have to cycle the system, which is going to at some point require a large water change. But that's okay. And I'm happy I managed to get another line on more salt, because that will give me enough to easily get the tank upstairs set up, because each of those buckets is supposed to do between 165 and 200 gallons of salt water. Mine is closer to like around 170, 175 I'm getting out of a bucket. But that's okay. That will get me through. I have 4. One of them is partially used, because I have been using it for water changes where the reef is located, but I opened a brand new bucket. It's gone, and I'm into the second bucket, and I have 1 more here, plus the part bucket over there. And I'm going to cross my fingers that I'm going to get these other 3. And then I think I'll be good for a while.
I think the Tropic Marin supply chain stuff, there's been more coming in, because my local guy had a bunch come in too.
Yeah,
so I think it's just starting to slowly come back in.
Yeah. Yeah. My trouble is heating my tank. I have 3 300-watt heaters, and my power bill went up $100. My wife is not pleased. Whoa. Yeah. Well, I don't know what ours is going to cost, because it's all electric, but it's a tiny circulating pump that draws 12.4 amps when it's running. And the water heater is a 1600 watt, but it won't be on all the time, because of course the water that's going into it will already be 70 some degrees. So all it needs to do is maintain the temperature in that final section at whatever I set it, that's going to accommodate the whole sump. And then once we add the tank, it'll be a challenge again to make sure it maintains the temperature for the tank, because that's a whole other thing. Because the basement temperature may be higher in order to maintain up here because of the water having to travel up and there not being heat here. Like, well, it's inside the house, but there won't be a heater in the tank. So that's going to be interesting. But from what the reading that we've done, people show their apex graphs of their temperature, and they're just about flat with these systems.
Yeah, mine, I forgot who I think it was Beefing with O I was showing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, look at that graph, Alex. That's moving up and down constantly. And I'm like,
And then you zoom out.
I was like, oh, that's 1 degree. And he's like, that's 1 degree? I was like, yeah, it doesn't move any more than that. And he's like, oh.
Yeah. Cue Ball started his new tank with reef crystals, and he uses Fritz Blue Box now that he's only doing 40-gallon water changes. Yeah. It feels like we're having a three-way conversation. Yeah, other people can jump in if they want, but they're probably just kind of relaxing, and we still have 23 people hanging in, 10:30.
Yeah, I'm still, I'm going to have 500 gallons worth of water change capacity, and
yeah,
but I'm not planning to do like mega water changes all the time. It's just,
yeah,
it is not economically feasible. Maybe when things are growing real good and I could trade for some salt or something, but
well, the way the pricing works out, it's around 100 and, let me think now, what's 475 divided by 3? 450, that's 150, so call it $157 for 200 gallons. They say 200, but it's about $1. It's about $1 a gallon. So if I do a 100-gallon water change, it's going to cost me in salt alone $100. That's kind of what I figured out. I don't imagine I will. I can't see why I would unless there was an emergency of some type that I thought would be helped. But I could see myself doing 50, 60, 70 gallons at a time to do a reset if things needed it, if I felt like they needed it.
Yeah, and I think the other piece of that too is even with if you have the capacity to do it, it's always helpful. And I think a lot of things, and as you get into having this larger tank too, is does it become cheaper to do a water change or buy the trace elements on their own? Because they get expensive.
Yeah. And the other part of it is the water change, I always looked at it more as removing issues from the water than adding in trace elements. And probably because I've always fought high nutrients. And it's probably because of the way I used to feed. And I used, we were talking earlier about reefroids, and I used all kinds of that stuff without really understanding that it is nutrients going into the tank. And I think a lot of us are in that position because it's something you learn as you go, that this isn't like a magic little vitamin. This is food. This is composed of organics, and it's going to increase your nutrient level. And I think that's sort of the distinction that I'm starting to learn more and more about. And especially if they talk about certain things are added and this and that, and you think, oh, it's, it's good for my corals. And then you go and you add more of this and more of that. Even things like Acro Power, it's nutrients. So
yeah, and I think too is, well, when you think about nutrient control, the water change is always a good method of export. The other thing that I learned with the last system was really when I started having my big algae problems early on in the system, the method I used of increasing the wattage of light over the refugium and starting to add more lighting power over that, you got more nutrients and you got more growing power with the light. you can export things quicker.
Yeah. Yep. That's very true.
Water price high in your location. My water's not too bad here, but I haven't really done a lot yet, so I don't know how bad it's gonna be.
Well, I can tell you the place we left, the power authority got merged with a larger city. And over the course of about 5 years, our electricity and water bills, which are all together, and wastewater, sewage, almost, well, 2.5 times they increased. And one example is they have the delivery charge, what they charge you to deliver the water to your house. And in the other town, it was $72 a month just to deliver the water to your house. And in the town we're living in now, it's $42. And the water here is 80 some cents per cubic meter compared to 282 or something in the town we just left. So my monthly bills for electricity, water, and wastewater never were under $350, even with the credits we get because the government's trying to help us. The last two that I've had here have been under $150. So where we moved to, the water's way, way cheaper, and it actually tastes good. The water in the other place was impacted by way too much development, poor water management. It tasted like algae and iron all the time. And the water in that town used to be delicious. And here I can actually drink tap water and, not feel like I'm going to throw up. So it was a good move. I'm doing a little bit of a rant there, I can tell. But yeah, Johnny, I feel like the water here is fairly cheap. And when it comes to these big systems, even the RO water, my husband added an extra membrane to get the waste to product ratio down to 2-to-1 from 4-to-1 that we had been doing at the other place. So that probably contributed to it quite a lot. So now we're having a more efficient use of our RO system, and we're holding 125 gallons at a time. So we'll see. We just started doing it since our last bill. We'll see how much it goes up. And it's great because I'll be able to really tell what the impact is on the water and not the electricity quite yet, but certainly the water. So we'll see.
Yeah, I know my power out here is pretty cheap. I think it's only like 7 cents a kilowatt hour here.
Yeah.
So that is one thing, because I remember with the last tank, everyone's like, "Oh, your electricity bill must be like $1,000 a month," and I'm like, "No." Like, where do you live? And then they tell me their price, and they're running like a 100-gallon tank, and their electricity bill was as much as mine. I was like, yeah, there's no way I could afford that.
I think ours here, because right now we're well, actually it ends in a couple of days. They have time of use pricing, and the cheapest it's ever been that I've seen is 12.6 cents a kilowatt hour. And the most expensive is about 26, something like that on the high peak times. But what really irritates me is that our surplus power gets sold out of the country for an average of 14 to 16 cents a kilowatt hour. So I'm thinking, I want me some of that 14 to 16 cents a kilowatt hour power. Let them buy the 27 cents stuff. I don't understand that. I don't even know if I want to look into it, because I have a feeling I'll be walking around in circles ranting again.
I always figured if it gets to the point where I am in that much need, I would look at doing like a Tesla solar setup with some power packs. And
yeah.
Although I don't know how it is here in Illinois, but I know there's some states that the power companies will really try to discourage that, or it would be, I guess, a way I've seen it before is, well, you can't, like, let's say you just want to go disconnect from the power company. There are some states that they don't let you.
Mm-mm.
You got to be hooked up to the local utility company. You can't
It's
disconnect from it.
it's for your health and safety, don't you know?
Well, I always laugh because I talk about it with my dad and I go, just don't pay the bill and let them shut your power off.
He's old school. I like it.
Well, no, that's what I was telling him. I was like, oh, that's fine. Just say that you got to be hooked up. Go, all right, well, I'm just not going to pay the bill. You could shut it off.
Exactly.
And then,
Yeah.
hey, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Johnny Martinez, do you have to pay for sewer with your water usage? Yes, and it is a certain percentage. And actually, that's something that I've been thinking about because somebody said when you fill a swimming pool, they recommend you truck the water in. But of course, you could put the garden hose in and 3 weeks later use your pool. But they say you should let the municipality know because they will then give you a credit for the fact that you're not processing that water and putting it down the sewers. It's actually in a pool. And I thought, well, but at the price of it, it's like so cheap per cubic meter. And I figured out how many gallons are in a cubic meter, and I can't remember now what it is. But I figured out the actual water cost is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $80 to fill my whole 600-gallon system for the actual water. So, it doesn't seem worth calling them to try and get a credit and go through the whole, what? An aquarium? It's,
The other thing is too is, well, I know like around here, if you're going to like fill a pool, it's like you got to do it on certain days and at
Yeah.
certain times so you don't mess with water pressure in the system.
yeah,
So,
yeah, for sure.
which I don't know. I guess they might frown upon me going, it's not a pool, it's an aquarium. Isn't that different?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm waiting for the knock on the door one day. Yes, sir. You've been using a lot of water and a lot of electricity, and we're kind of wondering what you're doing here.
What is leaking under your house? Hey, Sharbuckles, yeah, all of that. Oh, don't get me started, please. You'll regret it. I just the whole government thing that happened with our hydro here is just
Yeah, I gotta install my generator plug pretty soon before I get too far down the road with things. But
yeah, that's one thing we're starting to see ads around here for Generac, and they'll come and do a consultation and all that kind of thing. And we actually did have the gas supply to the house upgraded to accommodate a generator. That is one of our plans, is a whole home generator. And I don't care. I've only been through maybe 3 events in my life, my adult life, where power was out for more than, let's say 12 hours. And I don't want to be in that situation again, especially not with the investment that I have in what we're building right now, and lose it because of not having power. It has to be part of your budget. Even if it's just battery backups or some sort of we have a gasoline generator. I think it's a Champion, and it has that inverter thing on it. You can just plug, and we figured out at our other house what we needed to plug into an extension cord to go in the generator to keep the tanks running. We didn't care about our fridge or any of that other stuff, but just to keep the tanks running. And I also have some of those battery powered air pumps that you plug in so that as soon as it loses power, the batteries turn on the air bubblers. And I always had intended to install those in Mollywood, but I just never did. But they will be installed because if anything happens before we get a generator or whatever, I at least want air and some water movement.
yeah, that's why I got my handy emergency kit still with.
Yeah.
I think I got like a dozen battery operated air pumps.
Yep.
Written instructions, so anybody could do it.
Yep.
It's I mean that's
right, because you travel for work fairly often, don't you?
Not too often. And who knows when that'll happen again. But
That's true.
but when I have in the past, I've always done a lot of preparation and making sure that I have local emergency contacts that not only, for one, I make them aware that that's what they are. So they're not like, who are you and why are you calling?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's that. But, it's the unfortunate thing is too, is that I look at what happened in like Texas over the last week, and it was very reminiscent of me in 2002 when we had the major blackout because I was in Michigan at the time, and it didn't matter that you had all the utilities were out. We had lost gas, water, and electric,
They're all independent.
there was nothing. I think, we had a generator and I had a tank at the time, although I lost a lot of stuff. I actually tore that tank down shortly thereafter because I was so upset.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that was before. I didn't have a reef tank at the time, and I was working in downtown Toronto and taking the train back and forth. And it's a 2-hour train ride. And that night, when we started hearing things were happening, we got out of the building. Everyone was told to go home. The elevators were still working. We still had power. And then shortly after, it just went down and everything was down. The streets were flooded with people. It was really, really surreal. We got down to the train station and we found the trains could still run, but they were delayed because they had to get the backup generators going for the signals, which makes total sense. And it took, I think, about 3.5 hours, maybe 4 hours before we could pass our normal departure time. And as we traveled, there were pockets of areas that still had power, which was very bizarre. And we got in finally in the 2-hour train ride. Well, actually, it was just over an hour. It's a 2-hour car ride. It was just over an hour train ride normally. And it was 11:30 at night. So I left work at 3 p.m. I got home at 11:30 that night by train. My husband came and picked us up, and it was the most eerie thing. Everything was black. It just had freshwater tanks at the time, and they were all in the basement. And of course, they're different. They don't have the same type of requirements that saltwater does. The ones we had were simple. We had a couple large fish in a bunch of them, a couple community. We had 9 at the time. And we just went around and started stirring them. And that's really all we could do. The heat didn't really matter because there was no air conditioning, even though it was, what was it, August? July or August?
It was end of August, I think, because I was coming back from a vacation with my dad from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. But we were about 2.5 hours from home, and we were listening to a radio station, and all of a sudden it just went dead. And we didn't think nothing. I were like, oh, we must have, we're out of their range.
Lost the signal, yeah.
Popped in a CD, and then we finally got into the Metro Detroit area a little bit more, and my dad's like, all right, we need to listen to something else, and we turn it on, and it's like the radio host is like, we don't know what happened, we don't know the extent of this, and we're like, what the heck is going on?
I feel like you're in a movie.
Yeah, because it being 2002 and not even a year since 9/11, we were like, what the heck's going on? And then when we finally started getting more into town, the roads started getting congested because we were on the freeway, so we had no idea the power was out. And they had like banned all non-essential travel. And I'll tell you the one nice thing though is the stars were really looking nice when you looked up at night.
Without all the light pollution.
No city lights, yeah.
Yeah, that lasted, I'm trying to think now. I think we were without power for 2.5 days. So it wasn't that bad. Not like some areas. And not like since then, some areas have had with ice, such as Texas. It makes me want to cry when I see what people are going through down there. It's just it's life threatening. It's we
Yeah,
think
that's
tanks, but they're getting close to survival levels.
well, and the thing is too is that I know for you for sure up in Canada there, I mean, you guys are much more adapted to the cold weather. Even here to a certain extent, the houses are built better, they're better insulated, the pipes, the systems are all intended to work in that stuff.
Well,
Down there, it's not meant for that.
their
And
plumbing is
then
not buried below the frost line. I mean, ours is all
no,
4 and 5 feet down, right? So it doesn't freeze. And
and
we have
even
winter.
then it still does.
Yeah, sometimes. Well, it has to come up at some point, right? But I mean, we have winter coats. We have the clothing for it. We have the tools for it. We have the sort of the adaptability for it because we grew up with it. And yeah, it's really. I don't even know where they're at today. I haven't seen news today. I've been busy messing
Uh,
around the basement.
I thought I heard something like 500,000, but it might be less. But
Yeah.
it's just, well, in my job, I've been working a lot of disaster recovery stuff lately, and not in Texas, but basically all the way through uh, Arkansas, Kentucky, West Virginia. They all are just been hammered with ice storms.
Yeah.
And the problem is that it, just like in Texas, usually an ice storm hits, and a lot of times you'll get a little bit of melting or something right after. It hit and it just got cold and didn't move it, and then it snowed on top of it.
And they got another
So,
storm. Yeah.
yeah, there was like 3 or 4 storms in a row that hit, and it took everything to a crawl.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is eye-opening. And I know we all go through a phase where we say, okay, we're doing this, this, and this. We're going to have an emergency kit. And then it's over and things start going back to normal and you forget about it. And it's human nature, but the best time to buy a generator is about 6 months after a really horrible event, because that's when the supply is best.
Yeah, trying to get one when because I have a propane generator, and I went that route because the only problem with gasoline generators is the fuel goes bad and you're not using it, and turns to lacquer inside of it. It might not start, and then the propane too. I figured that I could at least it'll take a grill tank, and I think a grill tank would last 8 hours at like 50% load on the generator.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, the propane doesn't go bad. All you got to do is make sure there's oil in it, and you can just plug it in and fire it up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my husband removes the fuel. I'm not 100% sure of that though, but since we got it 2 years ago, maybe, I think he's started it a half a dozen times. So probably not enough. But it's one of those things you have to build it into some sort of a routine. Yeah.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing is, if it's that catastrophic what's going on, unfortunately, the aquarium might not be on the priority list of things that have to be done.
No. Nope.
So.
No, that's what ReefGrrl was. He did a short Insta live stream the other day, and he was talking about where your reef tank is in relationship to the priorities, the other priorities in your life. And, he said for him, it's way down. As long as he can keep his family warm and fed, that's the number one.
Yeah, I mean, it's a financial loss, but it's, I hate, it's at the end of the day, that stuff mostly can be replaced.
Mm-hmm.
And, your loved ones and yourself cannot be.
No, that's right. Yeah, and Johnny Martinez, water pipes in the attics without insulation. And I was thinking, okay, you get burst water pipes, but here ours are all below where we live. And Johnny bringing that up makes me realize burst water pipes is way, way, way more serious when they're over your head, because you're going to get damaged no matter what. And it's not just going to be ruined carpets; it's going to be ruined everything.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and yeah, a lot of it's just a totally different type of construction out there.
Yep.
That's just like my parents. They live in Las Vegas area, and their furnace and stuff's in their attic, and I'm just like, what do you mean
Yeah.
it's in your attic? Like,
Yeah. Heat
that's
rises.
weird.
Come on. Yeah.
But at the same time, that house is meant to be in like 120 degrees and not turn into a fireball.
Yeah. Not 0 or 6 or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well. Well, I don't know, you guys. It's 11 o'clock, so it's been 3 hours. I think I'm about ready to go and sit down and watch a replay and check for troll comments that I missed, if there were any.
Yeah, I think it's about time to call it a night and relax. I'm trying to get my glass removed from the old plywood tank tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you have to go away and then come back fresh.
It is physically exhausting to do this. Like working stainless steel wire back and forth to cut through that stuff is not fun. And even sawing, like, I think I got about halfway through the tank while we were talking with Travis a bit. And it's like, I was waiting to hear, why is Alex going so slow cutting that? And it's like, that's because I put screws every like inch. So it's an inch and a half of plywood, fiberglass, steel screws, and pond armor. It doesn't go quickly.
No reverse engineering for you.
I will honestly, the pond liner tank might be a real nice thing for that, because that'll be easier to disassemble.
Yeah.
Hopefully it works.
It might be one of those lessons that you didn't expect to learn.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, thanks, Alex. I appreciate the time you spent with us, and it's always interesting to see what's happening over there.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe a couple weeks there'll be some water in something.
That would be cool. That'd be cool. Well, next week, everybody who's still here, Cue Balls, I did see your email, but I haven't read it, but I'll take a look at it. Good night, Pappy Reefer, and good night, Johnny Martinez, and everybody. And thanks so much for spending the time tonight. It was cool. Good conversation. Next weekend, I'm going to do this on Sunday at some point around midday. So if you're interested, if you're free, available, and you want to see who we can sort of find from all around the world who don't normally get a chance to be on to visit the live stream, then by all means come on by and watch for the reminder video, because I always put those out Friday night or Friday late day, and that will give you all the information that you'll need to know for that. So 17 people, counts going down. Everybody's time to go and get ready and have a drink or go to sleep, or maybe both.
Well, good talking to you, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, Alex. Good night.
You're welcome. Good night.
Okay, everybody. Good night to you. And I really enjoyed tonight. It went super fast. And we will see you next weekend, February 28th, Sunday, sometime. All right. Thank you.